Okay, let's see. Is this thing on? Knock, knock, knock. Let's see. I think it is on. There we go. Can you guys see me? I don't know why it's making me into a circle. Let's see if we can fix this, huh? Solo layout. Very weird. I don't know why the streaming software is doing that today. Welcome, everyone. It's been a long time since I've done one of these. I'm going to give everyone a minute or two just to get into the chat before we kick off. Do me a favor, though. Throw your name in the chat. I want to see who's on this call right now. So just say, hey, it's Sumner from Bali. Put in the chat. I want to see who's here. We've got a really exciting call today. I'm going to give you guys the first sneak peek of what we've been working on for the last 6 months, which is Land Insights Lite, Land Insights Starter. I'm also going to show you guys the 3 properties that I'm giving away for free at the end of this month. We've got a piece of land in Colorado, a piece of land in Texas, a piece of land in New Mexico that I'm giving away free of charge, 100%. Just doing a really cool raffle. And I'm going to walk you guys through all of my KPIs for the month of September. So you guys are going to get a sneak peek. I'm going to share with you guys what's working in my business this month and for the last couple months, what's not working, all that fun stuff. We've been locking up a lot of cool deals. We've been booming, and it's been really exciting. So I can't wait to share those numbers with you guys. Looks like we got Leanne Chua from Los Angeles. What's up? It's Mike. There's a lot of mics in land. I don't know which mic this one is, but we got Howard Posner, but I see that your name is Vic. I don't know what the discrepancy there is. I don't know if to call you Howard or Vic. Let's just send a quick shout out here to let people know that we're live, and then we're gonna get this thing rocking and rolling. Let me know just so I can get a sense of who's the kind of the demographic for this call today. How long have you guys been in land? Okay, is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? 3 years? 1 month? Because a lot of what we're going to cover here today with Land Insights Lite and Starter is for the new person. Like I've been kind of building tools through Land Insights and elsewhere, mainly for folks that are pretty advanced. This is my first time stepping into trying to solve problems for people that are brand spanking new through Land Insights. So let me see in the chat. We got Howard. He's a newbie. Howard, Vic, which one? I'm not sure. Drop it in the chat. How long have you guys been in land? Don't be scared. Please share. All right, guys, come on. We got Howard. That's it. Howard's a newbie. Is that all we got? Come on now. Completely new, but I've been wholesaling 6 years. Cool, and 2 years. Been doing land for a little over 6 months now. Still chasing my first job. Awesome. Okay, cool. I'm loving the demographic here. Well, we're gonna get this thing started. Funny story. I don't know if you guys know watches. This is a a Patek Aquanaut. Now I need to come clean. This is a fake watch, and what's funny about it is I just had about 20 people or so visiting me here in Bali. Most of everyone flew out like 2 days ago, and we went to this fake watch store and bought fake watches just for the heck of it. We were gonna buy fake Richard Milles. I don't know if you guys know what a Richard Mille is, but they have like pretty good fakes there. And so I've just been beating the hell out of this thing. Now I think fake watches are pretty stupid, but I'm like taking this thing dirt biking, taking it in the mud, taking it ATVing. I just want to see how much I can abuse this watch. And so far it's pretty freaking sturdy for $100 fake Patek. Also an interesting manifestation tool, you know. Again, I think fake watches are kind of stupid, but I really like this watch. It's been a cool way to test drive. Like, oh man, what would it feel like to own the Aquanaut? And I think it's kind of sold me on it, to be honest. So I'm going to Japan at the end of December. So maybe I'll get a used Aquanaut. All right, guys. First thing that I want to show you, I'm going to share my screen here. First thing that I want to share with you guys is I want to walk you guys through the pieces of land that we're giving away. So let me make sure I do this correctly here. Yep. Okay. So first things first, we are doing a ginormous launch party. And this is how the only way to get access to the pieces of land that I'm giving away, you have to be on the launch party. So you can RSVP here. I'll put it in the chat. It's landinsights.co/launch. Once you RSVP, you're going to get early access to the Land Insights platform on September 28th. And we do our big launch party on the 30th. Okay. You can see that's 8 days away. It's going to be on the 30th at 4 p.m. PST. Now, on that call, it's going to be a probably 2 to 4 hour live stream with Rylan and myself. We got some really cool topics that we're going to talk about, partially educational, partially kind of a deeper dive in using Land Insights. And we're going to be giving away 3 pieces of land. So these properties are just directly from my inventory. Oh, shucks. Hold on. Dag nabbit. I think I made a big mistake here. Hold on. Let's see. How do I fix this? Oh, goodness. That's embarrassing. I think I need to refresh this page. I apologize, guys. Give me 1 sec here. I made a rookie mistake. Let me stop sharing this real quick. Okay, I wasn't even sharing my screen. Let me fix this for you guys. For some reason, it is not allowing me to show you guys pictures. So here, get you guys situated here in a jiffy. That was a rookie live stream mistake. I haven't done a live stream in probably over a year, and it shows. All right, let's try this one more time. So we're going to come here. We're going to click on share screen. We're going to share it over here. Add it. Cool. Now you can see my screen. Okay, awesome. So these pieces of land are straight from my inventory. These are like, this is what I cut my teeth in this business, right? When I first got started, I was flipping these junk little infill lots. Now, to be honest, they're junk relative to what we flip today. But if you're new in land, these are probably, I mean, a rough ballpark, these are probably worth somewhere between $2,500 to $5,000. You can flip them, you can owner finance them, you can go live on them if you wanted to, or build on them. So this is the parcel in Texas. These are all in subdivisions. Okay. This is what I started with, and it's still a great strategy. And I'll show you guys how you can run this strategy through Land Insights. Like, this is what I started with. I ran that up to $30,000, $40,000 a month, and it certainly worked, but it had a real cap. If you want to get to 6 figures a month, 200, 300, 400K a month, I think you have to be kind of running what I call the 2.0 method of land investing, which is what we teach inside of Leah. So this is a little parcel here in Texas, right? Next one, here's a beautiful little piece of land out in Costilla County, Colorado. Costilla County is like the most classic land investing market ever. Small little parcel. Most of the parcels out there are 5 acres. This is a small little infill lot, but really pretty. It's right next to the San Luis Cristo Mountains. And then we've got this classic piece of land in New Mexico, right by Florida Peak. So we're going to be raffling these off. Now, how you enter into the raffle, you're going to go to landinsights.co/launch. I put it in the chat for you guys. Go there, RSVP. On the 28th, you guys are going to get early access to Land Insights Lite and Land Insights Starter. As a reminder, Land Insights Lite is our free data platform, no subscriptions, none of that stuff. And I'm going to walk you guys through it here on this call. You guys are going to get early access on the 28th. Once you get access on the 28th, inside the platform, there is a golden parcel, okay? There's a secret property inside the platform that you've got to go and find. Once you find it, you export it. That's going to enter you into the raffle. Now, we're going to be sending out clues as to how to find this property, okay? But it's very important that you RSVP so you can get the clues earlier than anyone else and find the golden property on the map. That's going to be your golden ticket into the land raffle. We'll be announcing the winners on the live stream on the 30th. That's in roughly 8 days from now. So it's pretty freaking cool. I put a lot of time and thought into trying to make this fun with the land raffle. You guys get early access. You find the golden property. I'm going to be giving you a lot of helpful clues. It should be easy enough. And you do have to be in attendance on Thursday, or sorry, not on Thursday, on the 30th of September, this month at 4 p.m. PST. If we call your name and you're not there, it's null and void. You're no longer in the raffle. So you do have to be in attendance. Sound good, everyone? Yeah. If you guys like free land, give this video a thumbs up. It's, again, it's hard to peg an exact value, but it's probably it's over 5 figures, I would say, in terms of land that I'm giving away from my personal inventory. So $10,000 or a little bit more Now, if it were me, the play that I would run on this, twofold, okay? You're probably not going to move out to Costilla County. I understand that. So what would I do? Well, if I had like literally no money, I would just flip it. Like just go get cash, flip it. Okay. Go get 3 grand, 2,500, whatever it may be, redeploy that back into your land business. And the cool thing is, we could have just given away a couple $1,000, but the problem is you don't learn with that. So like this is a really interesting way to dispo your first piece of land, have land insights as the backbone in that process, and feel what it feels like to go full cycle on a deal and make some money. Now, if you have liquidity and you have some money, just owner finance it, right? So I would do something like $100 down, maybe $199 down. These aren't going to owner finance for a ton in terms of a monthly payment. You might get $99 a month, but more than likely you'll get those payments over 50, 60, 70 months, something crazy like that. And so you can also kind of get your taste of what it feels like to get some cash flow. A lot of people haven't experienced cash flow, and it's a pretty cool feeling, and you certainly can make land cash flow. So that's what I got for you guys in terms of land giveaway. Let's get to the meat and potatoes, okay? Let's jump into Land Insights Lite, okay? So we're here inside of Land Insights Lite. Now, why did I build this? Well, it's a good question. When we built Land Insights as you guys currently know it today, okay, the current variation of Land Insights will be rebranded to what will now be known as Land Insights Pro, okay? When we built that was about 2 years ago, which is crazy. It feels like it's been a decade. When we built that, that was really to service my itch and Ryland's itch initially. Like when Ryland and I partnered together, it was very much let's solve the problems that we have in our business today. But at that point, we were already selling millions of dollars of land every single year collectively. And so, you ostracize a lot of people. And every single month, I noticed that there's 90% of the people that reach out to us are not qualified for Land Insights. Like we literally turn them away. They say, yeah, I've got $1,000 to get my business started and I've never done a deal. I won't even let someone like that join Land Insights Pro. You're just going to waste your money and spin your wheels. And so I'm like, God, there's got to be a way to service these people. And so I started to think back to, when I got started in this business in 2019, which is crazy. It's 6 years ago. That is just shocking to me. I didn't even know what a data platform was. I didn't even know what a deed was when I first got started. But I remember going and scrubbing the internet for these tax delinquent lists. And so I was just hunting down like free pockets of data. And the first tax delinquent list I ever found was in Elko County, Nevada. You guys probably heard me tell this story before. I won't bore you with it. I didn't get a deal from that list, but I got my first call back. And honestly, that felt just as good as getting a deal because it validated, holy crap, this business is real. Thereafter, I moved over to DataTree, and DataTree was it's a good product. I definitely think that it's a good jumping off point, but I ended up getting roped into very long subscriptions. It's very clear, like even with when I first got started, and I'm a land novice, it was very clear. This is a tool built for a lot of different real estate investors, like not just land people. Like I could tell it was trying to service everyone, and it didn't feel specialized. Like, frankly, I didn't even get access to looking at wetlands maps until I bought Land ID. And so I was like, now I've got multiple subscriptions, and it felt cumbersome. And I was locked into, if you've ever been locked into one of these contracts with land.com or DataTree or, some of these providers in the land space, they don't mess around. Those contracts, they really like to enforce them. And so I'm like, okay, looking back, if I got started, I would want like the due diligence capabilities of something like Land ID, like something that's very tailored to land investors. I want the data accuracy of DataTree, and I would want no contract. And more importantly, I would want no monthly fees, because there's something about having that like recurring expense when you're starting with a few pennies, frankly. And I started with $7,000, which at the time felt like the most money in the world. Looking back though, I'm like, I was on a shoestring budget to get this business started. And so when I'm getting hit with, $99 or $299 a month, I really felt that, especially because there was months I couldn't afford to send out mail, yet I still had to eat that recurring cost. And it's like, yeah, man, if I did this over again, I would want no subscription. And so that's exactly what we built with Land Insights Lite. Now with Land Insights Lite, we've also launched Land Insights Starter, which I'm going to show you guys here. So let's just take a quick tour, okay? You guys will see here. So there's a whole kind of breakdown of the three different plans. I don't want to bore you with these, but I want to give you some specifics on what do these plans include and who kind of falls under what umbrella, right? Like giving you a bit of a recommendation based on where you're at. Now, you can hit compare plan and go through all of the intricacies. There's a lot here. I don't want to spend this call going through that. Land Insights Lite, like I mentioned, no subscription cost. Okay. Who's that for? Well, that's for someone like, who did I see in the chat? That's for someone like Michael Rasho. Been doing land for a little over 6 months now, still chasing my first deal. God, I talk to a lot of people like Michael every month. People that are like, I'm hunting for my first deal, haven't gotten it yet. That's for you. Land Insights Lite, you through and through. Now, you'll probably outgrow Land Insights Lite after you do a couple of deals, to be honest. Like, you're not meant to be a light land investor forever. These tools are meant to grow with you as you grow in your business. And so starter for me is for folks that are finally finding some consistency in their land business. Okay. Like you finally have found the discipline to consistently get marketing out every single month. Your business is predictable, as in we send out 5,000 mailers a month. We get 25 leads a month. Like there's some steadiness to your business. A lot of people don't even make it there, which is crazy to me. And yeah, that takes some discipline to get there. You definitely have to be methodical in your marketing. So starters for that person. It's the person that's finally maybe just kind of dipping their toe in the pond of like scaling, finding consistency, moving from a hobbyist to a business owner. Okay. That's essentially how I would phrase it. Now, pro is for the land investing pros, frankly. These are for folks that like non-negotiable. I'm getting to a 7-figure run rate in the next 12 to 24 months. That's the ambition. That's the goal. Now, it's not, you can't really derive this based off of team size or even marketing quantity, because it does, there's a lot of variance there. But I would say figuring out the kind of where you're at and where you're going is probably the best indicator of what plan to choose. Because frankly, we have pro users that have one VA that do $750,000 a year in profit, right? And there's also people on there that have a team of 35. So you can't really back in the math of like, oh, you have to have a team or this is what the team size looks like. I think it's more about where you're at and where you're looking to go. So light, chasing your first year deal. Starter, dipping your toe in the pond of kind of finding some consistency. Let's call that 2 to 3 deals a month. And pro is everything beyond where you would be inside of starter. Now, just a really kind of super, super high level of what's included in here, okay? Now, if you're a pro user, you've got access to a whole world that Lite and Starter never will have access to. Okay. I need to be very clear about that. There were some Land Insights users that I think mistakenly assumed, oh, now everything that I know and love about Land Insights is going to be commoditized and given to hundreds or thousands of people. And that's not true. Because a big fear of our users over the years, and it's a fair fear, is some of the more people that have access to these tools, the more we degrade the value, right? Like, that's a real thought. The less people that have exposure to the visibility that we give you through market selection or whatever else it may be inside of Land Insights, the better for our users. Let me be clear. None of that is carrying over to Lite Starter, okay? All of the things that you know and love about Land Insights Pro, like the deep dive market selection, some of the pricing features, realtor report, like on and on and on again, that's not included. Lite and Starter purely is built around the data platform, okay? Inside of Land Insights Lite, you get 100 plus data filters within the data platform. You're at 10 cents per export, 6 cents per skip trace, and you get 10 plus due diligence layers within the mapping platform. I'm going to walk you guys through exactly what that looks like, and I'll show it to you here in a second. Now, if you move over to Starter, you get everything that was just included in Lite. You do move your a la carte cost to 8 cents per property record, 4 cents on the skip trace side. What's really nice is that you do get access to the MLS comp overlay. That is super, super, super exciting. I'll show you guys what that looks like here in a second. But when you're actually mapping your properties, you can see all of the MLS comping data, which you do not get within Land Insights Lite. That's going to be beneficial for obviously running comps on individual properties, but also using it for pricing and building out mailers or different data sets where you're going to be applying a price to it. And as a starter user, you do get access, limited access to our Land Insights AI comping tool. which you do not get within Land Insights Lite. Now, just as a quick kind of sidetrack here, and I'm going to share with you guys my KPIs here today for the month of September. And if you guys like it, that idea and the vulnerability of sharing my numbers, look, I share them when they're good, I share them when they're bad. Like my numbers last month were not very appealing, and I still shared them with you guys. So if you guys like that kind of stuff, give the video a thumbs up. It would mean a lot. My business, I kid you not, my business has doubled in the last year. Now, some of that's because I just spent more time on it. I restructured some things in my business, but a lot of that I can actually track directly back to certain Land Insights features or updates that we made within the platform. The number one feature that has, I'm not exaggerating, has literally changed my business is the Land Insights comping tool. Because what happened with the Land Insights comping tool is we were essentially able to double our marketing through channels like texting without growing our team. It's not a perfect doubling. It's probably like an 85, 90% jump in how much we were able to handle. That's ginormous, right? My internal underwriter was able to handle substantially more deals, and we're underwriting at a way higher level of accuracy. And I'll talk about why that's important here in a second. We just started cold calling in our business 3 months ago, and I'm going to share with you guys my KPIs for cold calling. We've been crushing with cold calling, crushing. And one of the reasons is because we actually run due diligence and give an offer on that cold call. So our leads are price qualified and we run real-time DD. You couldn't do that without the Land Insights comping tool. It just wouldn't be possible. So most cold callers or cold call agencies or whatever you might be using, they're just going to run through a quick fact-finding script. Okay, they'll ask 5 questions, 6 questions, and then move the lead on over. We're running real-time due diligence and real-time offer creation on that call, which means we're creating price qualified leads that we bring into our AM team, which is a really big deal. And of course, on top of that, our AMs have been able to handle more leads as well, right? I've always said that I think that the upper echelon of what an AM can handle if they're full-time is about 150 leads. In our business, it's closer to 200 plus. In some months, it's like 220, 240. The comping tool has a big part to do with that. So like I'm not exaggerating. I would pay thousands of dollars a month to have access to the Land Insights AI comping tool. And so would a lot of our users. It's freaking huge. So being able to test drive that in Starter every single month is a very potent feature. Of course, eventually you just want to get on Pro and have it full time. The reason that comping is so important, a lot of people don't understand this, right? The best land investors, in my opinion, like when I talk to them, they always say, if I was running the comps, my business would double. Or if I could just find a way to take my comping brain and give it to my team, my business would double. I was literally just talking to Rylan maybe 2 or 3 nights ago. We were on the north side of Bali. We're in this beautiful villa in the water, having a delicious dinner. And he's like, dude, my business, I've had to take a step back in comping this year because Land Insights and a bunch going on. And he's like, I've really felt the effects of that. And he's like, if I were to make one change right now, if I could comp every single deal, I think I could double my business. And it makes sense because great comping and great underwriting and great due diligence unearths hidden value. And ultimately, that's all we're doing in this business. We're unearthing hidden value. Like we're arbitraging information. And a lot of that starts with, can I see something that other people don't see? Right. And I could talk about countless deals that either sellers or realtors or other land investors missed because they didn't see the hidden value. I'll give you an example of a deal that we just got signed last night. Beautiful deal, extended cash closing deal. It's in Michigan. It's a subdivide. We bought it at $200,000. Okay. Now, it's got a kind of like modern barn on it, like a new barn. I forget what they spent. I think about $65,000, $70,000 putting the barn on it. Partially wooded, partially pastoral, 2-sided road frontage. Perfect subdivide. And so we're cutting it 4 ways. And what's really interesting is that our realtor and even people on our team looked at this and they said, oh, like it's going to sell 300K subdivided. Or they said, if we flipped out of it, I think it's worth 240. And I'm like, whoa. That does not add up. And so we got the contract signed last night, and I went deep on my own due diligence, my own underwriting. And I'm like, no, as is, this thing is worth 280 to 300. And subdivided, I think it goes 400K plus. And that's because there's just nuance to comping and underwriting that perhaps my team might have missed or the realtors might have missed. And so imagine that was a deal where, I mean, at 200K, you probably still would have locked it up. But if the price was slightly higher at 230, you probably wouldn't have done the deal because you're like, margin's too compressed. But in actuality, I would still do the deal at 230 more than likely. And that just happens time and time again. So that's a long rant about due diligence, underwriting, all of that jazz. I know a gentleman who's actually spends a lot of time here in Bali, amazing land investor, been in the game for a long time. I don't know him that well, so I'm not going to use his name because I don't want to spill his tea. But I know that this land investor is landing 7-figure plus deals, like big deals, typically with no improvements. So 7-figure profit plus deals. All, as I understand it, all that he's doing is having a really clear understanding of zoning, what you can and can't do, and then finding commercial buyers for these commercial lots and essentially matching up the right zoning for the right buyer, like a Starbucks or a Jimmy John's or whatever. And again, a lot of people might look at that and say, oh, it's commercial zoning, whatever, but they don't actually dive to the deepest level. So there's just so much hidden value there in terms of underwriting and due diligence. That was a very long rant. Hopefully that helps someone. Cool. One thing that's very special, okay? Now, when you sign up for Land Insights, and I'm not going to walk you guys through this process right now, but when you sign up for Land Insights Lite, okay, on September 28th, if you've RSVP'd at landinsights.co/launch, you are going to get an email. It's going to say, hey, come make your free account. When you make your free account, you're going to see a little screen like this. You can pick your plan. You can be on Land Insights Lite or Starter or whatever. Doesn't matter what plan you're on, whether it's Starter, Pro, Lite. When you go through this process, I'm going to give you $50. That sounds crazy, right? It is kind of crazy. Just for completing the onboarding form, okay? Just for filling out the information. I'm going to show you why this is important here in a second. $50. That's $50 for credits that you can use on the platform for skip tracing, for pulling data, whatever, okay? Then once you're in the platform, you've made your account. If you pull your first export, I don't care if it's 1 record or 10,000 records, within 60 minutes, okay? You just made your account. Within 60 minutes, I'll give you another $2,500 of in-app credits. So $75 just for making your account and exporting at a record or 1,000 records. It does not matter. Now, why is this interesting, or why do I care, right? Well, I've noticed that a lot of people that are brand new, like, you really need to incentivize them to take action, because beyond like this platform and this tool and Land Insights, what I've seen inside of Leah, let me back up. Leah is like my passion project. Like, coaching for me is a huge source of fulfillment and joy. I draw so much passion from it. And I love seeing people that were in the same shoes as me go from nothing to something. Like, that lights me on fire. And every single success story that I've seen starts the same way. They find a market, they pull a list, they market to that list. I don't care what marketing channel it is. I don't care about the specifics. Every success story starts that way. And so you, as a new land investor, I know something about you. You probably have shitty habits. That's just the honest truth. As a new land investor, you're probably in this business to make money, just straight up. Because you're trying to make money probably means you haven't made a lot of money before. And you probably haven't made a lot of money before because your habits are not dialed in. What do I mean by that? Well, you're probably more than likely someone that would sign up and never take action. Like, oh, I'll pull records like next week, and then you just don't do it, or next month. Now, can't speak for everyone, but I see this as a commonality. I want to make it so stupid, obvious, no brainer for you to pull your first market and start marketing to it that you can't say no. So $50 when you sign up, $25 to pull your first market. That's $75 of in-app credits that, depending on what plan you're on, like, for example, if you're on Land Insights Pro, that's like 1,500 records, if my math is correct, quick math, for free. And so pull that list. That is every success story. Pull that list, market to that list. You just do not know what's going to happen. You got to get out there. You got to start talking to sellers. It's just that simple. A lot of people overcomplicate it. They get paralysis analysis and they wait forever. And I want to see Yeah, I want to see that stop happening. It breaks my heart. It really does. It frustrates the heck out of me. I've seen Land Insights Pro users, okay? People that signed up, they paid 3 months for Land Insights up front, and they pull 100 records in 3 months. I want to pull my hair out. It drives me nuts. It's like, you have a Ferrari, drive the damn thing. Don't let it sit in the garage. Now, why do I want you to fill out this onboarding form? Check this out. You see this right up here, okay? You can see it here, this little percentage bar. You can also see it down here, okay? The reason that this is important to me is that I want you to fill this out accurately, because if you fill this out correctly, I've engineered a platform that's going to hold you accountable to the goal. And let me be clear, I'm not the engineer. I don't know why I use the word engineer, but you get the point. Help think through a solution that's going to keep you accountable to your goals, right? Again, this is built for someone that's probably brand new. I want you to figure out, how much money am I trying to make in this business? We're going to reverse engineer all of the math for you. And then we will hold you accountable every single month and say, this is the goal. You want to make 100 grand a month? Here's what you need to do. And if you don't do it, you're going to get notified. You're going to see this front and center constantly where you're tracking towards your goal, because this business ultimately is just math. Okay, I want to make 100 grand. Let's see what this would look like. Okay, I want to make, let's say 50 to 100 grand. I'm going to do cold calling. How fast do I want to reach it? I'd say in the next 12 months. Cool. I need to pull 75,000 records per month. It's just math, guys. Now, of course, there's skill. You've got to be decent on the phones, yada, 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 but it's still just math. And so just for filling out the onboarding form, adding in your goals, 50 bones to get started inside the platform. If you guys are liking this so far, drop it in the chat. Give me like a W in the chat or a thumbs up or something, just so I know you guys are tracking with what I'm saying here. I want to make sure I'm not just speaking into the void. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. All right, we got one W in the chat. What else? Come on, guys. Anything else there? It's a quiet group. Jermaine, we got a W. You guys have any questions so far before we get back into the meat and potatoes here? Questions. No questions so far, huh? Okay. All right, I'm gonna have a second coffee brought to me real quick. Let me send a quick text, guys. We're gonna keep the fire alive. Second. Bless my beautiful girlfriend Sarah's heart for bringing me a coffee while we're on this live stream here. Couldn't do it without her. All right, we're gonna jump back into it, y'all. Okay. Well, I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. If you are, it would mean the world if you could drop a little thumbs up on this video. My mom watches these. Yeah, I want to show her that we're doing cool things. All right. Francisco, do we need data tree if we already have Land Insights? Heck no, dude. This is data tree or any other data platform on steroids with no monthly cost, no recurring cost. I'm not here to say like, oh, data tree is bad or fill in the blank data provider is bad, but this solves every single problem that data tree would, plus substantially more, and there's no recurring cost, no monthly cost. To me, it's just a no-brainer, right? I don't really see any reason as to why you need to hold a subscription to any other data platform, frankly. Let me make a quick, I'm going to make a quick update to this banner. Hold on, guys. There we go. Now, again, if you guys want to RSVP for this, you guys want early access, and there's no charges or anything like that. landinsights.co/launch. Okay. John, how much to export on Lite? I'll walk you through. It looks like you showed up a little late, so I'll cut you some slack there, huh? Just kidding. So if you go over here, you guys can see the full breakdown. Now you guys can get really granular with it and see all the nuts and bolts. Land Insights Lite, okay, 10 cents per export, and you're at 6 cents for a skip trace. Land Insight Starter, 8 cents per export. Land Insight Starter is $47 a month, no contracts, nothing like that. 8 cents per export, 4 cents per skip trace. Land Insights Pro, you're at 5 cents per a la carte export and 2 cents for skip trace. Also on Land Insights Pro, you have the option to do truly unlimited data, no cap, nothing like that. That's only available to pro users. Now, of course, you guys are going to pay a premium relative to pro or starter if you're on Lite, and even starter relative to pro. So, at a certain marketing scale, you do not want to be stuck on a Lite plan or a starter plan. At a certain point, the math slants in your favor to where even with a recurring cost, it would make sense to move to starter or pro to not get hit by excessive a la carte data costs. So the goal is not for someone to be a Lite user forever. The goal is for this to be a stepping stone for someone. And my thesis was, at least in my experience, it's the recurring costs that really messed me up in this business. That's and when I first started, it's one of the reasons that I think direct mail is probably one of the best or the best marketing channels for new people getting started. And the reason being is the cost is flexible. Bad month, I don't have a lot of cash, I can turn it off. Texting, cold calling, these recurring kind of marketing channels where you've got this recurring cost, you don't get that luxury. And it's just kind of always nipping at your heels. And that's how I felt with having a stack of subscriptions. And when I got started, I had Data Tree, Land ID. I even had, oh shucks, what's the one that all the house wholesalers use? I'm blanking on it. PropStream. I had PropStream at one point. Don't get me started on that data. That is some crazy land data. Now, inside of, again, we're using a Land Insights Lite account here. I'm going to give you guys, we'll actually export some records here together, and I'll show you guys how I do that in my business. But before I do, I just want to show you, if you go over to menu, right, you're in Land Insights Lite. Thank you, Ben. You're in Land Insights Lite. You guys will still see all of the different pro tools that you might be familiar with, the comping tool, agent database, yada, yada, yada. But for example, if we click on comping tool and I'm a Land Insights Lite user, you are not going to be granted access. So you'll be able to see kind of a walkthrough of that feature. You'll get a bit of a tour here, a bit of a better sense as to why that might make sense. And then you can upgrade here, or you can leverage a free 14-day trial for Land Insights Pro. Every single person within the platform gets access to this Pro 14-day free trial, okay? So if you're a Land Insights Lite user and you want to test drive Pro, absolutely everyone can. That's something that we never unveiled publicly. We've never had public Land Insights Pro trials. I've never done it. For the first time, we're rolling that out so people can try before they buy. They can test drive it no matter what plan you're on, which is pretty interesting. And again, on all these pages here, you're going to get a pretty cool breakdown of what that feature looks like. And yeah, I mean, there's some really cool testimonials. Mayor Shemtov, an amazing land investor, says the comping tool simplifies one of the most complex tasks in the land business. Oh, shucks, we just lost him. Comping land deals allows you to comp deals fast and accurately. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here. I'm not going to bore you guys with all of them, but that's kind of just a really brief walkthrough. You guys will see this for all of the different gated features inside of here. Now, again, if you're on Land Insights Starter, you will get monthly access, limited access to the comping tool to use it selectively. Okay. All right, guys, let's pull some data here. Yeah, we're going to pull some data. And also I'm going to walk you guys through my KPIs. Okay. Let me just, before we start pulling some data, let me just make sure all of our KPIs are up to date. Boom, boom, boom. Yes. Let me make sure, hold on. Let's check these KPIs real quick. So for the month, bum, bum, bum. So yeah, looks like these are up to date. 710,000 in total sales price for the deals we've acquired this month. I'm going to show you guys the deals that we've sold to and briefly walk you guys through that. So let me just make sure 291. I want to make sure these are up to date before we get to them. Okay, guys. Yes, these are up to date. Cool. We'll get to those in a jiffy. Let's go back here and show you guys the data platform. Cool. All right. Let's pull some data. Let me just hear from the chat here. What market would you guys like me to pull some data from? Okay. What market do you guys want me to pull some data from? Put it in the chat. Let's hear. Anyone got suggestions for me? I'm not saying I'll take your suggestion, but I'm just curious what the chat says. What market should I pull data from, guys? Put it in the chat. You guys are quieter than a bunch of church mice on this call today. I don't know what's going on. It's quiet out there. Huh? You guys too busy on Friday doing fun things? Put it in the chat. What market should I pull from? Do not be scared to answer. Nashville. Okay, Howard, or Vic, don't know which one. We typically do not pull from cities, okay? So inside of Leah, we think about pulling markets into a few different buckets. We think about county-wide acreage ranges for an entire county. We think about zip codes, which can comprise a city. We think about polygons, so actually carving out specific sections usually derived from topography within a county. And we think about subdivisions, okay? Does anyone know why we do that? Can someone please tell me in the chat, why in Leah do we teach those 4 market fracturing techniques to pull data where we can accurately price? Can someone put it in the chat? Who's a smarty pants? John Schmidt, how about you? John, do you know? You seem like a smart cookie. Anyone know why we do that and why we wouldn't pull a city typically? No? Vital Choices, Navarro County, Texas. Okay, thank you for the recommendation. Well, it looks like no one has the answer. The reason that we go with those routes is that they consistently produce like a repeatable pattern of like creating homogeneous pricing. Like like zip codes are designed in a way to where they usually coincide with real estate values, right? And in rural counties, typically the acreage bands, if we pull them correctly, allow us to price for the entire county. Subdivisions inherently have very homogeneous pricing. And when we use polygons, we're typically using it to carve out different sections of topography. For example, this part of the market has lake frontage. This part is a mountain range and a valley, and you can section it off based of topography, which is usually a big driver of price. Cities, not so much. Cities, you could be on the west side of Nashville or the east side of Nashville, totally different prices. Typically, zip codes would solve for that because, again, more times than not, zip codes do somewhat coincide with real estate values. The USPS, when they first created zip codes, like there was some rhyme and reason to them. They're not surefire and they're not perfect. And that's why having something like the market research platform and Land Insights Pro is important, because you get a spot check on the front end if something is homogeneous, right? Before you get married to pulling data. So that's just kind of a bit of a blueprint. I don't think I've ever pulled data for a city. Maybe in my first year I did, but that was pretty much it. Also, inside of Leah, we think about 3 kinds of buckets for what kind of land you can pursue. Okay. What do I mean by buckets? Well, there's like 3 very broad land subtypes. There's rural recreational land. Call that 5 acres to infinite acres. Okay. These can be huge properties. There's not really a cap on them. These are typically in very rural areas. Now, rural is relative. Okay. Sometimes that's an hour from a town. Sometimes that's 10 hours from the nearest town. So I don't find that the gauge in terms of how far it's from a town is a kind of a good point of reference. I think more about the use case of the property. Rural recreational, typically you're not going to have zoning within city limits. It's typically very broad, high-level county zoning that's very unrestrictive, and the use cases are very broad. Maybe you'll use it as a hunting tract. Maybe you'll open up a hip camp set up on there. Maybe you'll build a house on there. Then you have rural infill, okay? That's typically half an acre to about 5 acres. It's this tertiary to a town. Typically, these are still going to be used for residential purposes, but they're going to have more lax zoning on them. And so, yeah, it's like the people that want to live in a rural place but aren't ready to like manage 100 acres. You know what I mean? Those absolutely boomed during COVID. And the third is what we have is true infill lots, right? And if you went to market in Nashville, you're going to find typically true infill lots. Now, of course, that's a broad generalization. There are many other subtypes, but it's a good way to kind of get your gears turning. One of the things that I recommend for every land investor is you've got to define, who are you in this business? Are you a rural infill person, a rural recreational person, et cetera? Because that's going to help make your market selection a lot easier. Right? Because you need to kind of know where you stand to say, yeah, even if Nashville is hot, I'm probably not working there personally because I'm not an infill guy. My entire business has been, all the systems, all the people, all the training have been built around rural recreational and rural infill. And they have a lot of overlap there. So I think it's important to understand, who are you in this business? Now, all of the models work, okay? Like, they all work. They're all very different though. They are different. All right. I'm getting some different things in the chat. Mason says, do you entertain any rural markets in Florida? Yeah, for sure. I bought a few properties in Florida this year. It's not my favorite state to work in, but yeah, absolutely. Let's just let's go over to the market research platform. Let's take any, thank you. Let's take any of the guesswork out and just go find something interesting. Okay. I'm gonna poke around in Colorado. Okay. I'm partial to Colorado. Now, Colorado, it's a good state, but it's not a great state. It's not one of those states that's booming, but I just love Colorado. I don't know. I'm just partial to it. So let's take a look there. Colorado is really where I cut my teeth and started finding success in this business. And it's also when I first discovered, hey, maybe I'm kind of passionate about this stuff. When I started buying properties in Colorado, I was like, geez, these are beautiful. And I'm like, hey, maybe I kind of actually like this business. When I first got started prior to that, I was buying like junk, like 5,000 square foot lots in Riverside, California. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is just, like, doesn't tickle my fancy. So I'm very partial to Colorado. It's obviously a beautiful state. As you'll see in Colorado, though, the stats they're not incredible. If we zoom in here on the heat map, I'm looking at 0.2 to 100. You can see the heat map is not as colorful as it might be in some other markets right now. Now, Colorado has had its heyday. Demand is an ever-moving puck that moves across the country. It's ever evolving, ever changing. You can still do deals in Colorado. It's just there are hotter markets out there. Let's just look at, we'll go kind of more rural recreational. Let's say 5 to 100 acres. Francisco, I'm doing my market research in 1.5 acres, 5, 10, and 10 to 40. Is that correct or recommended? There's no, yeah, I can't really tell you, right? Because Francisco, it's market specific. I think you start more with the idea of picking, what kind of investor am I? Rural infill, rural recreational infill. But once I get into a market and I start looking at that market, the market's going to tell me how to break it up. Okay. The market's going to say, dude, the 1 to 5 acres are not in demand here, but the 5s to 50s are in demand. And then based off of that pricing, I'll show you guys what this looks like here. I might chunk it down 5 to 10 acres, 10 to 15 acres. I'm going to create these brackets and create pricing for those different brackets. So it's totally variable. The other thing, though, just as a rule of thumb, Francisco, typically you cannot create accurate pricing if you're more than 100% difference within those acreage ranges. So 1 to 5 acres is a super wide range. If you were going to price for that, your pricing is not going to make any sense. It would have to be like 1 to 2 acres, 2 to 4. And in some cases, it's even less than 100% difference. The market will tell you, though. And that's why it's like having access to the stuff on the front end is so important. So you're not guessing on, where am I working? Where should I be working? What acreage ranges are in demand? And how should I price them? Like, those are the 3 big questions that we need to answer. And that's why when we built Land Insights 2 years ago, we started just with the market research, because just this on its own solves one of the biggest problems in this business. In a business where you can work in any market in the US, you're overwhelmed with options, but so few of them are good. And then when you get into that market, so few of the sub markets, whether it's a zip code within a county or it's an acreage range within a county, are worth working in. So it's not like, oh, I want to work in this county, I'm going to hit everything. No, it's, I want to work in this county. This certain bracket is what I need to be working on. Right? You'll see, like, there's crazy preferential treatment in certain markets for certain brackets of land or certain parts of that county, whether it's zip code or based off of topography. And so we're looking for the micro market, that pocket. And we just want to take that pocket. And when we find that pocket, I need to know, how do I price this? What are land values out there? Okay. So we're looking at Colorado. I'm going to put in just a few requirements here. I'm going to say, whoops, is less than 250 active listings. I don't want to go find stuff that's like just booming with active listings. And we'll just start scrolling through this list here. Okay. Let's also, actually, I'm going to sort by sell-through rate. So the best sell-through rate right now is Logan County, Colorado, but there's only 3 active. There's nothing that sold in the last month. That's not very interesting to me. Washington County is at a 95% sell-through. Again, this is just 5 to 100 acres. This is not every size range. There's 22 active and 10 sold. 22 active and 10 pending. Nothing sold in 1 month. Nothing sold in 3 months. It's a little weird to me. We might come back to that. That doesn't get me super excited. Adams County, 57 active, 9 pending, 5% in the last month, 18%, 25, 63%. Now, these are not insane sell-through rates, obviously. I could go find you guys markets in other places of the country that have a 300% sell-through rate that are just booming. But in my opinion, sell-through rates are relative to the state. So these are not great sell-through rates, but relative to the rest of the state of Colorado, they're better than most, right? So let's just take a look at Adams County. Let's pull this up. So we're gonna come over here. Whoops. Filter and export data. Let's come look at Adams County, Colorado. Okay. So here's Adams County. We said, hey, we're looking at 5 to 100 acres. So Adams County looks like it's right outside of Denver. This might get a little crazy in my opinion. We would probably section this off via, either via zip codes or polygons, because the data inside of here is going to be so expensive, right? I'm not afraid of buying expensive properties, but really, like, if we look at our bread and butter, it's deals between 25,000 and 300,000. Like, that's where we make the most money. They're the easiest to acquire, and they still have enough margin that we can use outside capital, and they're worth our time. Of course, we do land big deals here and there, but if I'm sending a good chunk of my data to properties here, it's more than likely going to be a waste. And so I'd probably cherry pick the data that I'd take there, and I'd show you guys how we could do that. But if you're just getting started and you're marketing to properties that are $2 million, $3 million, and you're trying to flip them, you're in for a very harsh reality, especially if you're not savvy in this business. You're not great on the phones. Like, you're going to get your lunch eaten in terms of wasting your marketing dollars. Those sellers are hard to deal with. Those deals are hard to acquire. And typically you need some kind of value add strategy to make the math pencil, because you're going to offer at a much higher percentage. I'm just going to walk you guys through some of the kind of simple filters that I'll use here. Now, again, if you're on Land Insights Lite or Starter, you get access to all of this stuff. You get access to all of our AI scrubs. Okay, these are the best in class AI scrubs. We used to charge for these when we first launched them. Okay, I'll show you guys the different AI scrubs, but you get access to all of this. What's cool is, by using the AI scrubbing, our users on average have reported a 91.67% increase in their return from their marketing. How do we do that? Because we remove all of the crap properties that you would never want to buy to begin with. Most land investors don't realize it, but 40 to 60% of their data is junk. You should not be touching it, yet most people are still marketing to it. We'll put a max improvement percentage of 10%. I'm okay to have some properties that have some improvements on them. And you see that really dropped down our data, dropped it down to 57%. So we might actually toy with that. If I remove it, brings it up to 1,300. I'll show you guys how we might salvage that. Now, this is coming from the assessor, okay? Every single county assessor assesses differently. So sometimes you'll notice that a max improvement percentage filter has a really big impact on your data in certain markets. And I'll show you as a workaround to it. That's not a data issue with Land Insights. It has nothing to do with the platform. It has everything to do with the fact that every county assesses differently. Okay. And you'll see in some counties, if you put a max improvement percentage, it'll remove all of your data. So I'll show you guys some workarounds to where we're not marketing the properties that have houses on them and things like that. Now, you could use zoning type or land use and use like a vacant land use search. I think that's a bad idea. You're going to leave a lot of data on the table that other people are probably missing. So the data filtering process, again, there's 100+ data filters in here, which everyone gets access to. There's a real art and a science to using these data filters correctly. What happens is there's pockets of data that no one knows how to access that typically aren't getting marketed to. And so if you know how to use these filters intelligently, you can tap into pools of data that most people are missing. When I first got started in this business, myself and pretty much everyone else, based off what I was told, is that you come in here and you just search vacant land and you use a land use filter. And that's going to cut your data dramatically, and you're going to miss out on some really good opportunities. Okay. Now we've got these AI scrubs on. Okay. I said keep only vacant land. So that is one of the workarounds, right? If I didn't want to market to properties that have houses on them, for example, I could use our vacant land scrub. Now this is going to use AI and satellite imagery to find any property that has structures on them and remove them. So if I toggle this off, we go from 1,300 records. Let's see what it's going to bring up to a big number, to 5,500 records, because the remaining, whatever the math is, 4,000 records have houses on them or big structures. Now, I don't always use that filter because in some cases, I'm okay to marketing to land that has small structures on them, right? And so if I'm using that, I'm going to get rid of everything, whether it has a barn or a 10,000 square foot house. So I'll show you guys a workaround to that, okay? We're going to remove the bad slope properties with bad topography. Obvious, we're going to remove those. We're going to remove all of the landlocked properties. Cool, we've already got that toggled on. We're removing all the landlocked properties. I'm going to add this in. I'm going to remove all of the HOA properties, okay? That removed about 400 properties. Now we can go to the max wetland and flood zone AI scrub. I'm going to say, hey, 30%, okay? That's my max wetlands. If it has more than that, I don't want it. That brought us down to 4,900. I'm going to do the same thing with flood zone. I'm okay with buying properties that have some flood zone, some wetlands, but I can't have it just absolutely soaked in them. Now, of course, that percentage is relative to size. If I'm buying a 500-acre property, sure, if 50% of it's in wetlands, I don't really care. Now, this is one of my favorite scrubs right here, okay? This is our road frontage scrub. This is chef's kiss, absolutely beautiful. Not only can we say, hey, remove the landlocked properties, we can say remove properties that have a sliver of road frontage, because that certainly does affect value. Okay, if I've got a 5-acre and it's got 500 feet of road frontage versus 10 feet of road frontage and it's a flagpole lot, that's going to dramatically affect value. That's also going to put a constraint on whether I can subdivide or not by using simple exemption-based subdivides. And so this is a great value add filter. For example, if I was working in Texas and I wanted to use the 10-acre exemption for subdividing, the most important thing is road frontage first and foremost. So if I wanted to, I can say, hey, only give me properties that have at least 300 feet of road frontage. Boom, that brought me down to 395 properties. You can see a lot of these don't have very much road frontage. Now I can say, hey, remove properties that have highway frontage, remove properties that have normal county road frontage, remove properties that have local road frontage. So you can get very specific on what kind of road frontage that property has. I can't tell you guys how potent that feature is. That is bananas, bananas. My first subdivide, the first subdivide deal that I ever did was in Texas. It was about 3 years ago. And I remember setting a goal. That was like 6 to 8 months prior to doing that deal. And I said, okay, I'm going to start pursuing my first subdivide. So I started pursuing bigger properties in Texas. And I started reading up on the county regulations and looking for the exemptions to use the plat exempt subdivide process, which in Texas is 10 acres or above, you're plat exempt. And it took me about $20,000 to $25,000 in marketing spend to get that first subdivide deal. And the reason being is the vast majority of my data, the deals I was marketing to, yes, they were big. Yes, they were nice. Yes, they were expensive, but they didn't have enough road frontage for me to get the density that I needed to make a lot of money. Because for a bigger subdivide deal, I might be offering 75 or 80% of what it's worth. if it has such a small amount of road frontage to where I can only do a lot split, that's going to really compress my margins opposed to the same size property that's got 2,000 feet of road frontage. And now I can create 20 lots. Even if they're like which situation, even if they're both exempt, which situation you think is going to make you more money? Of course, it's the latter. ePro Motorsports, is it a CRM too or data provider mostly? Yeah, as it stands today, Land Insights Lite and Land Insights Starter is just a data provider. Land Insights Pro is a lot of other things, right? Land Insights Pro pretty much runs every part of this business minus the CRM. Most land investors that are using Land Insights Pro have Land Insights Pro and a CRM. Like that's kind of the goal is, can you get down to just 2 tools? Maybe someday it'll also be a CRM, who knows, but that's not on the roadmap currently for any of the plans. Land Insights Lite, Starter, Pro, all that stuff. Now, one thing to note about road frontage, if I wanted to use this filter here, it would really make sense to narrow down my acreage bands, right? Because 300 feet of road frontage might be a lot for a 5 acre, and it's hardly anything for a 100 acre. So even if I were to market to the 5 to 100 acres, I would make multiple exports and adjust my road frontage for each size, right? Because it has to make sense for the size. Same thing with the wetlands and flood zone. For a 5 acre, I might be fine with 30%. For a 100 acre, like I said before, I might be fine with 50%. So even if I'm doing the full 5 to 100 acres, it can certainly make sense in certain situations to export individual exports and narrow that acreage range band. For example, let's say I want to do 50 to 100 acres, okay? I might want to toggle with this. Maybe I want to open this filter up a little bit more and give it more road frontage. And so I put that in as a maximum. That should have been a minimum. That's my mistake. I'll come in at 1,000, right? Cool, 278. If I remove that minimum, 350. All right, what happens if I put 2,000 feet of road frontage? Now 196, right? And if I went to 5 to 10 acres, again, I would update that math. We'll go back to 5 to 100, okay? What's really cool about Land Insights is all of this stuff populates in real time, okay? Even with all of these AI scrubs, populates in real time, so you know exactly how much you're saving or how much you're removing by using all of the different filters. Now that probably seems like a simple problem to solve. It's actually quite complex, right? Because we're running these scrubs in real time to show you how much data you're going to be exporting. So let's just put a minimum here just for the heck of it. We'll put it at, let's do a minimum of 500 feet of road frontage. And I apologize for getting that backwards initially. Okay. We've got advanced scrubbing. If you guys wanted to do an advanced slope removal scrub, right? You didn't want to use this scrub here. So if you wanted to remove this and I wanted to create my own parameters, I certainly could. So I could say, hey, 50% of the property has a slope over 20%, remove it, right? I typically just use our automated topography scrub because it's really smart. Frankly, it's really good. So I typically just roll with this, okay? All right, now we're gonna come down to some of the ownership filters. One of the first things that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna deduplicate my owners, okay? When you click this, it's now gonna say, hey, which one do you wanna keep? Okay, do you wanna keep the larger property or the smaller property? If the seller owns 10 properties, do I wanna market to its smallest or to its biggest? I typically say, let's market to the largest, okay? So I'm gonna keep that on. That brought us from 3,500 to 2,200. If you guys aren't deduplicating your owners, you're wasting so much money. It's not even funny. That would have been 1,300 records of absolute waste in your marketing spend. Now, you've got all the usual suspects, out of state, out of county, out of zip, blah, 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 blah. If we go like out of state, for example, it goes from 2,200 to 373. If we say, hey, show me out of county, it goes to 776. A lot of people have it backwards. They think that out of state, out of county is like super duper important. And look, if you're brand new and you have a tiny marketing budget, for sure, use out of state, use out of county. They are more inclined to sell, absolutely. But some of our very best deals, the seller lives in the same zip code, same county, or at the very least the same state. Like, so, like seriously, some of our best deals come from there. And I think it's because a lot of people don't market to them. That's kind of my thesis. And the thing is, like, if a seller has motivation, it doesn't matter if they live local or they live in a different state. Like, motivation is motivation. There's people that are distressed that live next to, like, adjacent to the property or live in a foreign country. Even distress affects all people. Now, you can exclude corporate owners. Okay, click that. It goes to 1257. So now we're just going after standard owners, and you're not going after trusts or LLCs or all of that jazz. Again, I have decent success here with corporate owners. From LLCs, yes, you definitely do get a lower conversion there for sure. We don't do a lot of LLC deals. We have, but we don't do a lot of them. But family trust, we absolutely do. So I typically don't exclude the corporate owners. Francisco, I have a concern. You said that 1 to 5 acres is going to be hard for pricing, but so isn't it the same issue with 5 to 100 acres? Yeah, Francisco, I'm not pricing 5 to 100 acres, right? What I'm saying is I might export 5 to 100 acres, but my pricing, if I were to do this for a county-wide acreage range, my pricing, I'll show you what this looks like, Francisco. My pricing is probably going to be maybe 5 to 10 acres, 10 to 12 acres, 10 to 15 acres, 10 to 20 acres. I'm going to bracket it and I'll show you guys what that looks like. Okay. I'll show you guys how I would think through that. So Francisco, what you export is not the same as what you price. Okay. I'm going to export 5 to 100, but I'm very well, more than likely, I'm going to create brackets here and I'll show you guys how I figure out what those brackets might be. Okay. You can type, this is one of my absolute favorite features in Land Insights. This feature is bananas. I would literally pay, I don't know, a couple $100 a month just to have access to this filter right here. And it's 100% free. This to me is the #1 motivation filter that I've found. Only inter-family transfers. Okay. That means the property has traded hands within the family. There might have been a death in the family. The grandson gets it, or the son gets it, or the daughter gets it. These are very motivated owners because typically the person that inherited the property, they didn't spend money to acquire the property. So their relationship is very different. And typically there's been an event in the family. Someone passed away, something changed. And so more times than not, there is motivation there because some life changes have happened. This is chef's kiss, hands down, one of my favorite filters. If I click on this, go from 2,200 to 600, right? It really does whittle down our data, but boy, is that powerful. If I was a new land investor on a small budget, I would be rocking on this constantly. Again, totally free to use, so powerful. Owner is delinquent on taxes. I'm not crazy about this filter. To be honest, if we toggle this on, let's see, that's crazy, 666, that might be good luck. 666 owners in this market are tax delinquent. I'm frankly not super crazy about it for a lot of different reasons. If I wanted to pursue tax delinquent stuff, like, you have to be ready to handle messy title deals, okay? If you're new, you probably aren't ready to handle messy title deals because a lot of these situations are tax delinquent because there's title issues. For example, the owner on title is dead. They died 4 years ago. That's why they aren't paying taxes. So you got to go find all of the relatives and maybe get an affidavit for the heirship or go through probate. For a new land investor, that's going to be really tricky. So I typically don't hang out with that. Some of, I mean, like, I would say maybe 10% of our deals that we get, maybe even a little bit less, are tax delinquent. But usually they're like mildly tax delinquent. Like, they haven't paid taxes in like a year or 2 years. Ownership length, this is one of my favorites, right? This is going to be in months. So if I said, hey, they've owned for at least 5 years, put in 60 months, very powerful motivation filter, very, very powerful. Like, so many of our deals, the owner has owned for a while. Now, I wouldn't use ownership length with the interfamily transfer because they're contradicting. So those are two separate searches. If I was going to do the interfamily transfer, I want it to be recent, right? I don't care if it happened last month. I still want to market to them. If I'm not using that, then I would recommend putting some kind of floor for how long the owner has owned the property. Because if you market to someone that just bought 6 months ago, do you think they want to sell? Probably not. Like they're probably like very giddy and excited about the property. They just bought it. But if someone that just bought it 20 years ago and they haven't done anything with it, there's probably a lot more motivation there. Okay. This is a really cool feature, include or exclude keywords. Okay. So if I wanted to pursue a specific either owner or a specific kind of class of owners, so let's say I wanted to go after oil and gas companies, right? You could come in and type in gas or oil or what have you. So you brought it down to 17 parcels. So in that, how it's vested, who owns it, they're going to have that as a keyword in the either the name of the owner or the entity that's holding it. Where I like to use this on the keyword exclusion, right? And you don't need to know the full keyword. You just need to know a part, the full kind of how it's vested and the name on it. You just need to know a part of it. So anything that has county in it, I probably want to remove that, right? I don't want to market to the county. Anything that has city in it, I probably want to remove that. Starbucks, I probably don't want to market to Starbucks. Bureau of Land Management, probably don't want to market to the Bureau of Land Management. So you can put in these negative exclusion keywords so you're not marketing to people that are never going to sell to you. Utility companies, I probably don't want to market to gas companies, water companies, things along those lines, right? This right here, typically, if you're using the exclusion correctly, you'll probably remove 10 to 15% of your data. And those are people that are never going to sell to you, right? Is Walmart going to sell you their land? Is Target going to sell you their land? Is the county going to sell you the land? Probably not. So I would just remove them. Okay. County assessor, you can put in the assessor information where you don't need to go through this. If you want to use the tax delinquent filter to a deeper level, you can specify how long they've been delinquent on their taxes, how long since they made the last payment. That's pretty cool. Sale info, if you want to figure out what it sold for previously, right? So, hey, I only want to market to owners that had a max previous sale price of $50,000. Whoops. You can go put that in. So what you're saying there is I want to find owners that have a very low basis in the property. All right. So let's imagine I'm marketing to 100 to 200 acre properties. And I know those properties are worth $200,000 to $500,000. If I put in $50,000 as a previous sales price, that means I could make an offer to the seller at $100,000, and I know that they're going to be making money on that sale. You think someone that's going to make money or lose money on a sale is going to be more motivated to sell to you? Which one? Probably the guy or the gal that's going to make money when they sell to you. This is a very, very cool feature. Not a lot of people use this kind of stuff. I think it's very potent. When we study our best deals, a lot of the owners are making money on the sale. Go figure. So you can literally search for that. That's so powerful. Sale price type. Most people are probably not going to get into this, but you can get very, very deep into it. Sold for taxes, judgment amount, non-arm's length transaction. You can get very, very deep. Last sale date. Okay, you can specify the seller name. You can do the transaction deed type. This is a very cool feature. I can say, hey, make sure it's a bargain and sale deed, affidavit of death of joint tenant, agreement of sale, conservator's deed, contract of sale. Like you can get super deep with this stuff. Really, really cool. So only show me owners who acquired it previously with a quitclaim deed. Like you can get so niche with it. I love that feature. I don't use it often, but it's very, very cool to have that at your fingertips. There are certain use cases where it makes a lot of sense. You can come in and look for properties that have liens on them, right? That means there's typically going to be debt on them. You can figure out if it has a mortgage. If you want to do like a sub-2 deal or something along those lines, you can figure out the interest rate. That's really cool. Now, I told you guys we're not using, in this case, I'm not using the max improvement percentage, and I'm not using the vacant land AI scrub. So what I'm going to do instead to remove properties that have like big houses on them and things like that, I can come in here and put a total structure square feet. So this is a great workaround to where you're going to unlock pools of data that everyone else is missing. So if I come in here and I say 500 square feet is a maximum, now I'm going to still get properties that have some structures on them, but they're smaller structures, right? This is very, very cool because you end up marketing to properties that most people aren't marketing to, that have small cabins on them. Maybe they have a barn on them, things like that. What happens though is that if you use the vacant land AI scrub, you're going to remove everything that has any kind of structure on it. Okay, the AI is not going to discern between a house and a barn. It's going to it's going to remove all of it. And this max improvement percentage can give you some funny results depending on how the county is assessing. Okay. Now, when you come down here, you've got the skip tracing option. Okay. You can skip trace right here and it'll skip trace edit export for you. That's pretty awesome. You can include a partial KML. This is very, very advanced for very advanced people, but you have that as an option. And then one of my favorites here is that you can export with the AI price, the AI market value of what the property's worth. You can export with that so it has it within your data set, okay? I'll show you guys, I'm gonna hop over here. I'm gonna show you guys what that looks like. Everything I just did for you guys was in Land Insights Lite, okay? Now I'm going over to Land Insights Pro. So what I'm going to show you guys is only included in Starter or Pro. It's not included in Land Insights Lite. What I'm going to show you guys here. So if we go to Adams County, okay, that's where we were working. Go to Adams County, Colorado. And we said, hey, we're looking at 5 to 100 acres, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to show you guys something really nifty. So if I come down here, if you're on Starter or Pro, you're going to see that we have this MLS comp overlay, right? If you go down here to data layers, you see I have this MLS comp overlay selected. I'll remove this. I'm just going to say, show me 5 to 100 acres, right? So it's tracking with what we're searching. You can select if you can go 3 years back if you want. I'm just going to go 1 year back. You can select all comps, only sold comps, only pending, or only active. I'm going to do all comps, okay? So you guys can see we actually have these MLS comps overlaying. So let's imagine I wanted to market. It's like these 4 properties are in my data set, right? Let's imagine I'm marketing these 4 properties. I can literally come here and I can see, hey, look at this one sold in the same subdivision, 36.2 acres, sold at 250,000, took 603 days on market. And I can actually click on it and I can go and look at the sold listing, okay? I can also see, hey, this one is actively available. This one is for sale and it hasn't sold yet. And I can come over and I can go look at the active listing. And so that gives you a high level of accuracy when you're either underwriting properties or you're pricing out properties. You can see the MLS comps visualized on top of your data. Now that's only included in Land Insights Starter or Land Insights Pro. What's really nifty is in Land Insights Pro, let's say I was going to market to this property here. You'll see this AI comp value, okay? So our proprietary AI algorithm figures out what we think it's worth. Now, AI is not perfect, okay? It's a jumping off point for you guys. I still recommend running your own due diligence. You don't want to fall victim to just relying on the AI comp value. But you can say the AI comp value pegged it at 175. This owner bought it at $134,000. And so you can get AI comp values added into your export, right? So when I come to export this, I can include this and I'm going to get in my CSV file all of the values added on. Super, super nifty, okay? Guys, if you're enjoying this so far, please put some love in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. Give me something. I'm going deep with you guys. I really hope that this is helpful. I'm going to fill up my water. I'm going to be back in 1 minute. I'm just going to put a little BRB in the chat. When I get back, I want to see some love in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this, if it's helpful for you, please let me know in the chat. Okay, I'll be right back in 1 minute. All right, back in a jiffy. Like I said, Vital Joy, this is info so good. Howard learning a lot. Thanks for the deep dive. Mason, appreciate the value you provide, brother. Very abundant. All right, thank you guys. We're gonna keep the show on the road. I still got a lot to cover with y'all. Give me one sec. Yeah, this is quite fun for me. This is unveiling a project for the first time publicly that we've been working on for a long time. And the last 6 months, we really haven't talked about this at all. I wanted to keep it totally under wraps and just surprise the entire market. And I hope you guys feel, I hope you guys feel like this is valuable, both in terms of what we're sharing, but also in terms of building out essentially a free data platform. We've spent well over 7 figures building Land Insights, and now we're essentially packaging it as a free option for people. And to me, that just gets me really excited. I love giving away valuable things. I don't know. It just gets me excited. So I hope this feels valuable to you guys. Maybe I'm totally wrong and you guys are like, yeah, dude, free data platform is kind of lame. But it gets me really excited, and it's gotten me excited for a long time. So, all right, guys, 1 second here. About to get back into the meat and potatoes. All right. Boy, I sure do get thirsty doing all this talking. Okay. Cool. Hopefully that makes sense with the AI market value estimate, as well as the AI comp value that you'll see here in terms of the property record. Now, we could just go and export this data set, right? It's going to show you what's inside your data set. You can click and view them, and then you can just go and purchase it. And it's going to give you a breakdown here. I'm like a master account, so it's not going to show. It's just going to show zeros for everything. Don't mind that, but it'll show you the total number of credits that you're using, records, all that jazz. And you guys can see it here, and then you can purchase it. And bada bing, bada boom, you can export it. Now, all of your exports, if you go into the data platform, you can see all of your exports are going to be shown inside here. You can see all of your previous exports, and you can just go and download them. You can download all of the records, or you can download only the clean records. Okay, what's the difference? Well, there's the scrub records, and then there's a non-scrub record. So you can download those here. You can come and search by it. You can look by sort by newest, oldest. Also, what's really cool is you guys can save specific filters. So if you guys really like certain search filters, you can just add this into your save filter option and have those. So like if you have like a rural recreational filter, if you have a rural infill filter, if you got a Florida filter, you can save those inside of there and come back to them. Now, what I'm going to show you guys is what it looks like. Actually, we're going to go back here. We're going to go back to the Land Insights Lite account real quick. And let's go look at what it looks like to map a property. Okay. So inside of Land Insights Lite, you are not going to get the AI comp value that you get in Starter and Pro. Okay. So if you wanted to see that, for example, you'd have to go and click Upgrade to Pro, and you can see this upgrade page. You're also not going to see some of the specific market statistics that we show you in Pro. So for example, when I'm in Pro, I can see the sell-through rate for similar acreage sizes out here. I can see the AI comp value. So there are some things that you're not going to get access to in Land Insights Lite, but the nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes, you're going to have access to. So let me show you what kind of simple due diligence looks like on these properties. First off, you've got your data layers, okay? So you got the owner layer. We can turn that on. Now I can see the owner's name. We got our county layer, so it's going to outline the county, so we can see if our properties are in the county. We've got our zip layer, so you can actually see the zip codes out here. I'm not going to use that right now, but if you want to specifically see what zip codes your properties were in, you can turn that on. You've got your wetlands layer. You can see a little bit of wetlands right here. You got your surface water layer, so you can turn that on as well and see surface water. I'll turn that off for now. You got your flood zone layer, so you can see flood zones. You can see there's flood zones all over here. So you got wetlands, you got flood zones. You can see all of that. What's really cool is if you come over here, you can see if you hover over it, it's going to tell you what kind of flood zone it is. So this is the 100-year flood zone. So all you got to do is hover over it, and it'll show you the flood zone type. Okay. Going back to our data layers, you've got your contour layer. So this is going to show you topography. So if I can do control click, you guys can see These are all very flat, so there's not really going to be any topography on these. These are all flat properties. But if I was somewhere mountainous, you would see that these contour lines, they get very tight together, and it shows you the step up difference between each contour line and elevation, right? And so you can just quickly see, even on a 2D map, how much topography there is on the property. And you can see where that topography is, and you can see the change in elevation on those properties. If you're a new land investor, the two biggest deal killers, bad topography and properties that don't perk. And that could be wetlands issues, that could be related to the topography, it could be bad soil. I see that kill more deals than literally anything else. And so to have that as a due diligence layer for topography is huge. And again, these are all things that when I started in data tree or prop stream, they weren't built for land investors. So I didn't have access to surface water layers, wetlands layers, topography, like none of that stuff was available. And so my due diligence was really narrowed. And in my first year, I bought about 60 properties, and I kid you not, half of them were junk. No access, covered in wetlands, covered in flood zones, bad topography, you name it. Go back to the data layers. You can see the land use layer. So it'll show you the different kind of land use. I don't often use this, but you can certainly use it if you'd like. You got your roads layer, okay? So if I turn this road layer off, you see these yellow lines, that road layer, turn it off, it's gonna remove it. This road layer is cool because not only is it's gonna highlight the obvious county roads, but if a property has a road on it, it'll show you that. So you can see that Lorraine, this property here, she built the driveway. So this AI road layer shows you that driveway. Same thing, this AI road layer shows you this person has a driveway. Joy, does the level of detail change from state to state? Good question. No, it's the same across the board. Same detail state to state. Doesn't matter what state you're in. Good question. So I use this road layer. You guys can see that there's these kind of neon green icons, okay? This is our AI building layer. So if I take that off, it's going to remove it. Now, you can obviously see right here that these have structures. So you're like, why would I need the AI building layer? Well, there's a lot of properties that have like tree cover, right? And from the satellite view, you might not be able to realize that there's actually a mobile home tucked behind a tree, or there's a small cabin on that property. And maybe that's not recorded at the assessor's level. So you don't see it on the map, you don't see it from the assessor level, but oftentimes this AI building layer will be able to detect it for you. So it's very, very helpful. It's not, again, everything with AI is by no means perfect, but it is helpful as just a way to kind of pull your attention and say, hey, there's a building on that property, okay? Of course, you got the MLS comp layer, which is not included inside Land Insights Lite, okay? But you click on it, it's gonna say, hey, you need to upgrade to get access to it. That's just for Land Insights Starter, which is only $47 a month, or Land Insights Pro, okay? Down here, you've got your tools. You got your ruler, so you can actually measure out, hey, like show me how long is this road? So I click on it. Oh, geez, this road is 5,347 feet. Okay, so you can use that to measure properties, measure roads, etc. I'll exit the ruler on that. And then down here, you've got 4 different map layer options. Now, Joy, this kind of speaks to your question. The only thing that changes state to state is what kind of maps you need to use. For whatever reason, some states do better with certain kind of maps. So we've loaded you guys up with 4 different mapping options. Right now we're using the high res map. You can move over to the NAIP. These maps also, the satellites take images at different times, different frequencies. So sometimes a high res map might be more outdated than an NAIP map. And so it is worth toggling between these, right? A high res map maybe was taken 6 months ago and you don't see a structure. You move to the NAIP, geez, that is hard for me to say. And you say, oh, wow, there's a structure on it, or they built a driveway, or they cleared the property. These maps come from different sources, and the satellites do take images at different times, okay? You got your classic satellite map. You can see that these change, like they all look slightly different, right? And then you've got your classic simple street map, nothing fancy there. So this is included in Land Insights Lite, Starter, Pro, all that jazz. You get access to these 4 different map layers. That seems maybe like a subtle feature, but it's huge in my opinion. It's a really, really big deal, okay? So those are some of your due diligence overlays, okay? Now you're gonna come over, this is what we call our due diligence panel, okay? So your quick snapshot due diligence panel. Let's just make it interesting and maybe, well, I guess we can use this property. Sure, we can use this property. So a lot of tools out there that I used when I first got started, they would do one of two things. One, they wouldn't include this level of due diligence, okay? Because what happens is you're gonna get a lead that calls in. I wanna be able to pick up the phone, pull up the property, and see everything that I need to know immediately. A lot of these tools either wouldn't have that information or be very hidden. So I'm like scrolling around different tabs here and there, or tools like data tree, et cetera, they would make you pay for this information. You'd have to pay a la carte to get access to some of this information. I said, no, I want it to be free and I want it to be easily digestible and I want you to immediately get access because speed is everything. When I get a call from a lead, I need to be ready to pick up that call and I need to know exactly what I'm talking about. I need to know all of the facts and I need it right in front of me. So this due diligence panel is broken down into 5 separate cards, okay? I'll show you guys what these look like here in a second. You got your summary card, your parcel card, your owner card, your insights card, your metrics card, and your tools card. And I just did terrible math. That's 6 cards, not 5 cards. Geez. Let me walk you guys through this, okay? This, again, might seem like a subtle feature, but it's a really big deal. This is one of my team's favorite things about Land Insights because the tools we were using before did not make this easy. And so we would fumble leads because we didn't have everything we needed to know right in front of us. Okay, so you can see that the owner's mailing address and the property address. What's interesting? They're the same. This owner lives at the property. God, that would be a really important piece of information for me to know when I'm talking to a lead. Shucks, this guy literally lives on the property. He probably won't want to sell, or at very least, that's a question I need to ask to him. Hey, Isaiah, if you live on this property, why are you looking to sell it? Okay. You got your county card. You've got your acres, 3.94 acres. I can see what he paid for it. He paid $699,000 7 months ago. He bought it on a special warranty deed, and the purchase type was sales price from transfer tax. So we derived this sales price from the cost of the transfer tax in the last sale. Okay. APN, zoning, GPS coordinates, property tax. You can see he's not delinquent. If it was delinquent, it would show you since when. So maybe he was delinquent since 2023. It would show you that. It tells you if it's in an HOA. It's not. This is a family transfer. You can see this tag up here, family transfer. So this was an inter-family transfer. I don't know who it was in his family. We can look at that here in a second, but this was an inter-family transfer. No structures on it, no structure count, no mobile homes. You can see the Google Maps link and the Google Earth link. This is huge. I can just go click on Google Maps. I can click on it natively in the platform. It'll pull it up for me and I can come and drop a pin on this road and I can go look at the property. I can do that essentially instantly. I kid you not, the tools I was using before would make me pay to get the coordinates like this. Then I'd have to manually search the coordinates. This is one click native in here. Again, seems like a simple point if you're a new land investor, but if you've been doing deals for a long time, you know how important that is. Same thing with Google Earth. You can just click and populate Google Earth. You can see the assessed value. This property is assessed very low, okay? Very, very low. It's because of the zoning and taxes are very low. So probably an ag exempt or an ag property with tax exemptions. Market total value. We don't create this market total value. This comes from our data provider. Okay. Honestly, it's very misleading. The data provider is trying to derive it from their own proprietary system. It's not great. That's why we created our own AI comp value. This is much more reliable than the market total value that the data provider tries to create. Market improvement values, no improvements made. You can see the legal description, and we also have our calculated acreage, okay? You can see that the assessor says it's 39.4 acres. Our AI calculated acre measures it and says, no, we actually think it's 39.2. Now, sometimes you'll see huge discrepancies. Sometimes the assessor says it's 10 acres, but the calculated acre says it's 6 acres. What does that tell me? Probably the property needs a survey. Probably hasn't been surveyed in 100 years, and there could be inaccuracies in how big it actually is. Okay. Really, that's a really important feature. Now, when I'm marketing, for example, when I export my data from Landsites Lite or Starter or Pro, in my CSV sheet that I export, it's going to give me the calculated acres and the assessed acres. I'm always going to mark it to the assessed acres, right? Because that's the number the owner is familiar with because they see it on their tax bill. I'm not going to mark it to the calculated acres. I'll use that in my due diligence once I get the lead, but if you mark it with that number, you're going to confuse the seller. Now we come over to the parcel tab. It's a deeper dive on what we just talked about. You can see that this seller got a mortgage on the property, okay? A 30-year mortgage from ENT Credit Union. He's had the mortgage for 1 year. It's a VA loan. So that means he put no money down with 6.91% interest. What if I wanted to do a sub 2 deal? What if I wanted to market to the owner and say, hey, instead of me buying the property and just paying upfront, what if I give you $50,000 and I step in and I take over your debt, right? Maybe that's an option for you. So it's very, very cool to be able to see this. Current land use is farmland, and that's why it's assessed so low. Owner, okay. You can see the owner information here. Insights, cool. Property is not landlocked. It's got 1,744 feet of road frontage, no wetlands, no flood zone. You can actually see the slope on the property. 42% of the property has a slope 0.5 to 2.5%. That's the actual slope percentage. So I can see how that's broken down in the property, right? 1% of the property has a slope between 10 and 15%. Really cool. This is really cool. The minimum elevation is 5,353 feet. The max elevation is 5,396 feet. Howard, where the software show land easements? No, that is a very, very hard, that's next to an impossible problem to solve, to be honest. Why? The way that you derive easements is either through a previous survey, which there's no easy way to get access to that information, or it's in the chain of title in some deed from 60 years ago. And even with that, it's very hard to even figure out where the easement might be on the property. It's next to an impossible problem to solve. Now, what we do show you is we can show you roads that are made on the property that very well could be used as easements. Now, there might not be a great example because these all have road frontage, Howard. But what you'll see, for example, let's imagine this property was landlocked. Our AI road tool might show you with that yellow highlight that someone built a road going on this property. That might be a good indication that there is a deeded easement, right? Because we're showing you physically someone has created a road on a landlocked property. So we can show you that. But to solve for the deeded easement, I would argue is actually impossible, or very close to impossible. All of that information is fragmented with a county recorder. A lot of the properties might not even, like the deeds might be so old that they don't even have them online, that you'd have to call the county, pay for the deed from 1920, and then somehow have AI synthesize that deed, find if there's an easement, and then go show that on the map. Now, if county recorders offices were organized, Howard, and all of that information was easy to access, yes, you could hypothetically scrape that information. But that just doesn't exist. It's just the county recorders, that data is too fragmented and too messy. Utility easements. Yeah, so that utility information is something that we will be adding in as an overlay. So you will be able to see utility lines on properties, which again, it's not going to be pulling it from the deed. So there could be a discrepancy there. But for example, if there were transmission lines running through a property, we'll show you that. Or if there's gas lines or whatever, we'll show you the gas lines or this transmission lines or whatever. but we can't pull it from the deed. I don't know if that makes sense. So in a roundabout way, yes, that utility easements and utilities are a due diligence overlay that will be added in. So that is something that's on the roadmap currently, but we won't be able to scour the previous chain and the title to find that information. So I hope that checks out. Cool. Minimum slope 0%, max slope 24%, average slope on this property is 3%. That's like very chill. Like that doesn't scare me at all. If your average slope is under 20% for a property this big, like really no concerns. Metrics, you're not going to see any of the metrics, right? You would have to be on Land Insights Pro to see the metrics, right? This is going to show you all of the market metrics, right? 20 to 40 acres, 46 active, 7 pending. Here's a sell-through rate, medium sold price on a price per acre basis, sold 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, sold 1 year. That's only on Land Insights Pro. And then we can come over, and if you wanted to, you can click comp property. You can come down here and comp property. But because we're on Land Insights Lite, you are not going to get access to the Land Insights AI comping tool. I do want to show you guys how powerful that tool is. So we're going to pop over to our Pro account here, and we're going to go run the comping tool on this property. Okay. I'm going to walk you guys through this. I kid you guys not. This is my favorite feature in Land Insights. This feature has made us so much money in our business. Like it's freaking insane. I just can't stress it enough. And I'll walk you guys through my KPIs here in a jiffy, and we can go through them together, so you guys can actually see my numbers, and you guys can see how, like, what these tools actually translate into the results they drive in my business. Now, I need to preface, guys, I run 2 other businesses. My land business is not my full-time gig. The only reason I'm able to do that is I've hired amazing people. Yeah, I love my team. I work with great people. I've worked with them for a long time. I take care of my people. We look out for each other. Like, this is a people business, right? On top of that, though, it's the code in this platform that allows me to run this business part-time and do the numbers that we're doing, because we're creating leverage through people and code. Some way, somehow you need to create leverage. And so a lot of the reason I'm able to run this and run 2 other businesses is partially the code. And I'll show you guys the numbers that we do. I think that we do really well in this business, and it's, not a full-time gig. So this is our deep AI analysis and research. It's going to take a minute to populate. I can show you guys this while it loads. That's going to run a very deep due diligence dive on this property. It takes a little bit to load, so we'll walk you guys through the rest of the comping tool while that loads, but it's a really cool feature. I don't use it on every single property, but it's really nice to have that there. And that's not going to, you still have to do some due diligence. I just want to be clear. I'm not saying just, take all this stuff at face value and kind of delegate all of your thinking. You want to think about everything in Land Insights as a force multiplier. Okay. All right. So here's our property. It's owned in a family trust. It's 37.8 acres, Adams County. Obviously there's Land Insights is a complex tool, right? So inside here in the comping tool, for example, if you're ever confused, you can just click, and we have videos walking you through all of the different features. Okay. So if you're ever confused, man, how do I use this metrics dashboard? All you got to do is click here, and we've got tutorials in the app to show you. This is actually one of my favorite features. So we created a scoring system, okay, for parcel insights and market insights. This is a very quick due diligence snapshot for you. So on the parcel insights side and the market insights side, you can see we score things with a green check mark, a yellow caution sign, or a red flag, a red, whoa, you need to be very careful here, okay? So this is just a quick snapshot. So here are the positives. Parcel has less than 30% flood zone. Parcel has less than 30% wetlands. The parcel is not in an HOA. Here are the yellow flags. Okay, we're not saying that these are deal killers. We're just saying these are things you need to be privy to. The owner does live in the same zip. Okay, owner lives in the same zip of where the property is. Probably an important thing for me to know. Property has a structure more than 1,600 feet on it. Okay, I'm not saying that kills the deal, but boy, you should know that. I find a lot of people are so bad at due diligence, you literally need to hand them the answers. Hey, look over here, pay attention to this. Same thing on the market insights. The positives of the market. Overall infill market, 1-year STR is greater than 100%. Overall rural market, active count between 20 active and 250. That's within our sweet spot in this business. Too much supply, your listing gets lost. Too little supply, your comps become a little sketchy because you just have such a small amount of data. Here are the yellow flags. Overall infill sold less than 3 in the last 90 days. The next yellow flag, overall rural market 1-year STR is less than 100%. Cool. Got it. Good to know. There's no red flags for the parcel and no red flags for the market here, okay? So this just brought up our deep AI analysis and due diligence, okay? I'm not going to go through all of this, but it shows you all the information on the structure. So there's a single primary structure on parcel. It's a residential dwelling. It's approximately 2,204 feet. It was built in 2021, has 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, no large outbuildings like barns, visible sheds are noted within the parcel boundaries. There's no visible garages in alignment with assessor's 0 garage spaces. So we just told you everything about the property structure, exactly the structure information, and we tied that to the assessor's information, okay? The residence appears to be centrally located within the northern half of the parcel and is likely in very good condition, congruent with its recent construction date and assessed building quality. So it's saying, hey, this was built to the assessor's standards, and here's all the information about the building. We do the same thing with vegetation, right? We can tell you what kind of vegetation's on it. Trash or debris. No visible trash or debris piles on the property. We can show you everything but the road access. Property has a road on the southern boundary. It's 779 feet of road frontage. The observed road appears to be gravel or dirt surface. I mean, it goes very deep. Same thing, we show you the utility information. We show you the easement information, wetlands information, flood zone, notable features, surrounding area, development potential. We show you what you could develop on this property. Pros, cons, conclusion, all the nearby amenities. Really, really cool. Really cool. Like, I love this. This deep AI analysis and research costs 20 cents. 20 credits, 1 credit's one penny. So 20 cents to get this due diligence snapshot. Again, do I use this on every property? No. But so powerful to have this at your fingertips. Okay, let's go down here. So again, you can see same map that you know and love from the data platform where you've got all the same overlays. You can see all that jazz. You can sort the comps on it. You can just select certain comps and only show those. You can sort by size. You got our land insights AI comp value. So this is what our AI comp formula comped it at. I'm still going to run my own manual comp, but this is a really good jumping off point. You're going to see we created like this race car dashboard. I wanted to think about it in terms of like looking at a dashboard inside of a race car or a fighter jet. And it's just going to kind of show you the main things that you need to know for the market and the comping score. I'm going to come back to this because I'm first going to create my own set of manual comps, okay? So if I come down here, I'm going to create my own manual comp. Here are the sold comps. If you're inside of LEA, you know our comping formula follows a 3-part framework. This is weighted in terms of importance. It goes proximity, features, recency, okay? So I'm always going to sort by proximity. I'm not going to go super deep into this with you guys. I don't want to bore you, but let's just quickly grab some comps. We can see what it sold for. It's been on the market. It took 7 months. You can see the size, price per acre, distance from our property, the zip code, the days on market. I can go and add this comp. I can go and view this comp. I can go and actually look at it. I can also click on this and view the comp on the map. So now it's going to show me exactly where the comp is so I can actually see it mapped out. I'm just going to add just a random assortment. Let's just add a couple of these. Boom. Okay. So you see we added 4 comps here. Now I can come up and make adjustments, right? Our property has a 2,000 square foot house on it. So new house. That's the reason. Let's say I'm going to bump up values by 30%. Okay. It's going to add a 30% premium. You could do the same thing with bad comps or if there's something bad about the property. If it was 60% wetlands, I can add a discount rate to adjust my comps. So you can see based off of the premium that we added with the structure and my 4 manual comps, our manual comp value is at $273,000, right? The AI comp can't take into consideration the fact that there's just variables that variables that AI cannot understand, mainly features. The AI becomes very stupid when you're comparing the features of a comp to your property. So it's really good at proximity. It's really good at recency, features that fall short. That's just a byproduct of where AI is at today. Very well could change down the line. So now you're going to see our race car dashboard is fully ready to go. Okay. 176 active comps in the market. That puts you in the green zone. County strength, 6-month STRs, 21%. Not very good. Easy to price. Yes, this is very easy to price. It's telling you that prices are very homogenous out here. So it's easy to price within this acreage range of 20 to 40 acres. Comping score. If we list at $273,000, we have an 85.4% of being the next logical sale in the market. Does that make sense? Right? When I list a property, I also have to be competitive with what's actively listed. I can't just look at sold comps. I also have to take into consideration, what am I competing against when I bring this to market? It's saying, hey, you've got an 85.4% chance that if you list at this price, you're going to be the next sale in the market. That's huge. We met the suggested comp count, 4 out of 4 comps. You want at least 4 comps selected to have kind of a legitimate sample size. This is very interesting. We're in the red zone here because I'm going to show you guys our offer, but it's saying our offer means the seller's going to lose $133,000. Yikes. I want the seller to make money. That's not very exciting. I'm going to be underneath what the owner paid because the owner paid for this property $407,000. Ooh, not great. Not great at all. Okay. So we're going to show you guys the offer and profit calculator. So if I click on this, you guys can see right now it's basing our offer at 50%. Okay. I can put in a range offer. It's going to include the realtor commission. We put it at 6%. All of this is adjustable. It's going to estimate our closing costs, and it's going to estimate our miscellaneous expenses. So perhaps I want to double close this. So I'm actually going to offer 65%. Okay. And realtor commissions, let's say I got a good realtor out here. They're only going to charge me 5%. I got a good title company. This is going to be at $2,500 to close this. Let's say I've got $400 for drone photos. Okay. So my offer at 65%, it's $177,000. After all costs, I'm going to make 79 grand on this deal. Really cool. Just a really nice snapshot for you to figure out what you're actually going to make based off of your offer. Really, really nifty. I love this. Okay. Now, if you guys wanted to, if we wanted to clear these selected comps and you want to auto select comps, you guys can do this and allow the AI to auto select comps for you. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. So it selected 15 comps for us. And you can see it slightly adjusted the math here. I can also add active comps. Okay. It'll apply a discount rate based on how long it's been actively listed. So this one's half a mile away, but it's been up for 764 days. Let's say I want to add this in. Boom. It's added in here and it's going to apply a discount rate to this. Okay. So you guys can also add active comps. One of the biggest mistakes I see land investors making when they underwrite their deals is they do not take into consideration active listings, right? Sold comps matter, but when I bring something to market, the buyers are not thinking about sold comps. They're thinking about what are my options? And so in this business, we've got to be competitive because land is very illiquid. Land is hard to sell if you are too expensive. If you're way beyond everything else, it's going to be very difficult to move this deal. And so it's important that you take into consideration both active and sold. Now I can come in and add notes, right? Because what happens is a lot of Land Insights Pro users, they have a team. So I could add in notes. I could say, hey, has a house, 2,200 square feet, built in 2021. It's going to auto save these. And so when my team comes in, they can see my notes. I can see their notes. And so a lot of people might be using Land Insights within your organization. And so you want all of this information to be stored here. Now, I might recommend adding who added this. So it was Sumner Healey. So you can just kind of add in who made the note. And again, all of this stuff automatically saves for you. You guys can see the market analysis here, okay? For the county, market analysis for the county, for our range, 20 to 40 acres. That's kind of the size bracket for our property. and for the total sold. Really, really nice. Just a quick snapshot. And then you're going to see the familiar ownership due diligence cards that I showed you guys before. You guys can see all this information here. So that's the comp tool, guys. What we've seen based off my business, Ryland's business, other Land Insights users, is that this takes the time to comp a deal and drops it by about 66%. Okay. A lot of the user submitted data that we were getting was that on the front end, when a new lead comes in, most people were spending about 15 minutes prior to this tool to create an offer. And now most people are from a kind of user reporting, are reporting about 5 minutes or so to do a front end, like right when a lead comes in, your front end due diligence. So does that mean you won't go deeper? Heck no. But I'm talking about a lead calls in, that initial due diligence is about 5 minutes. What's really, really, really powerful about this though, and it just like, this might be the biggest thing for me, is that, like I said before, that this, you need to create leverage in this business. You can't do everything yourself. And so you need people. And a lot of your results are going to be dictated by the skill of your people. And so this tool, just as an example, has allowed me to take people that don't know anything about land, don't know anything about real estate, and ramp them up to where they are almost as good as me at underwriting, because this tool is a force multiplier. So we have people that join our texting team where it might have taken us 120 days to get them competent at underwriting via text. Now we're doing it in 2 weeks. Same thing with our cold callers. Same thing with new AMs. Like, it's a force multiplier. It also allows us to have team members carry more responsibility. You see what a lot of people do with texting as an example. They have a texter and then they have an underwriter. So what they do is the texter opens up the conversation. They ask the prospect, hey, do you want an offer? The prospect says yes. They then pass that lead off to the underwriter. They tell the prospect, we will get an offer to you in 24 hours. Then the underwriter underwrites it, passes the offer back to the texter. The texter delivers it to the seller. That's dog crap. That's terrible, in my opinion. Terrible system. Because you have there's so much risk for things to get lost in the process because you're handing it off, and you're removing all speed from your sales process. You're making that prospect wait 24 hours to get an offer. What we do, we make an offer right there and we don't pass it off. The texter makes the offer. So the seller says, yeah, I want an offer. Say, great, here's your offer. Just like that. That's a very different experience for the seller. I think delaying this stuff, passing it off to different people, stupid. And you need more payroll because you need more people to get the same job done that I can do with one person. Same thing with our cold callers. Most cold call agencies or cold call teams, they call a lead, they ask a few questions, they say, do you want an offer? They go through that same process. They pass it off to the underwriter makes the offer. Cold caller tries to call the lead the next day. Maybe the seller doesn't pick up. My team, on the spot, right there. You want an offer? Great, here's the offer. Very different experience. Very, very different experience. So powerful. Like, I'm obsessed with this tool. Okay. Questions, guys. Anyone have questions for me? Questions, put them in the chat. I'm happy to go through some questions, and then I'm going to share with you guys my KPIs from this month. Okay. Questions. No questions. Put it in the chat. Who's got questions? Nope. All right. Well, if we don't have questions, I'm going to share my KPIs with you guys. Give me 1 sec as I get these pulled up. Oops. All right. Oops. Okay. Mason, do you prefer a 1, 2, or 3 call close? 2 call close. First call, pre-qualify, fact find. Second call, make the offer. Sometimes that same day. At most, it's 2 business days in between that first call and that second call. That's our kind of max requirement. All right, we'll go through my KPIs. Let's see the best way to do this. So we're gonna Share my screen. Okay. Let me make sure. Put it in the chat. Can you guys see my screen? Let me know. And then we're going to go through some numbers here. Okay. Let me just make sure that this is working. And again, if you guys like this level of vulnerability, please share. Either share this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you guys like it. It's always a little uncomfortable sharing your numbers, especially in a space where no one else does. Okay, it looks like this share is not working. So I got to fix this for you guys. Hold on. One sec, guys. Let me make this correct. I'm going to go like this. And we're going to go, just give me 1 sec while I pull everything up for you guys. We're going to remove that. We're going to come over here. Downloads. Okay. Now, share screen, window. Okay. Now you guys should see my screen. Cool. All right, let's take a look. When I first got started in this business, I really didn't know what was possible, right? Like it was very frustrating because people would talk about a single deal, like I made $50,000 on this deal. And I'm like, how much did it cost you to acquire that deal? How many deals are you doing every month like that? What marketing channels? How many leads did it require for you to get there? And so it just kind of frustrated me that I felt like I never was able to get a good idea of what's possible. And then also like when I was deciding who to learn from and where to get my information from, you don't really know who's doing what, like everyone talks about deals, but no one talks about the actual inner workings of their business. And so I wanted to give you guys the inside scoop. And I also wanted to show that like, dude, I still struggle. Like just because you've been doing something for 6 years doesn't mean that you don't go through hardships. If you guys saw my numbers last month, like not an amazing month, right? I go through it just like anyone else. And so I think a lot of people, they feel like when they're getting started that either they're the only one struggling and no one else struggles, or that other people somehow like are doing something so different than them and not sharing it with them. And like, they must have a secret. And it's like, wow, the secret is find the right playbook and just do it over and over and over and over and over and over again for a long time. But you're still going to go through ups and downs. Naturally, this business is very lumpy. Okay. A lot of your results are going to be like peaks and troughs. You might make $1 million 1 month and $75,000 the next month. That's just how the business works. Okay. In our business right now, we're running 3 marketing channels: texting, cold calling, and a little bit of mail. Okay. This month, we haven't closed any deals from mail. Last month, we had 1 mail deal that closed. We're just very sniperish with our mail. Like last month, I think we only sent out 13 or 1,400 letters. So I'm not doing 100,000 mailers a month or whatever. Mail is a great channel, but it comes very hard to scale. If you're at, a scale where you've got 10 team members or 15 team or whatever, I find that there's other channels like texting and cold calling that are just a little easier to scale. And what I like about them is there's not a lot of lag time and you can make real-time adjustments. But I still love mail for sniping. Like I love sniping mail. And bar none, without fail, the right kind of mailers do bring in the highest quality of leads. That's just a fact. Mail leads have the easiest acquisition process and usually the shortest timeline. There's a lot more trust built within mailing. And so if you're not good at acquisitions, texting, cold calling, like you're really going to struggle with those. Mail is definitely a lot easier. And that's why I like people to start with mail. If you're just trying to learn how to do 2-3 deals a month, mail is a great place to start. If you're trying to do 20 deals a month, mail might be a part of your system, but it shouldn't be the main marketing channel. All right. So this is as of today. Total text sent this month, 113,000. We've received 7,414 replies. I am running some tests currently on how to increase our response rate. I'm going to report back to you guys. I'm running a split test right now between two different platforms. I don't want to share yet, but depending on the difference in response rates, I'll probably be documenting that here on YouTube and inside of Leah, because response rates with launch control have gone down a lot. So I am testing other platforms to see if we can get a higher response rate. Total leads generated so far this month, 315. We'll probably generate somewhere around 550 to 600 leads this month. Total leads from texting, 220. Total leads from cold calling, 95. We've generated 74 hot leads this month. That's bananas. Like, we're going to have our biggest hot lead month to date. And I think a lot of that has to do with what we're doing on the cold call side. We've also been training our texters a lot. So we've been getting them better at qualifying. So that's a part of it. Like, we're always training. But we are 3 months into cold calling, and I think we're starting to crack the code on it. And right now, texting versus cold calling, our team prefers cold calling by a large margin. Now, I have to be very clear, we're doing cold calling different than anyone else. I've never seen someone running cold calling how we're running it, to be honest. So I think that has a lot to do with the quality of conversations and leads that we're generating from cold calling. I think that's partially reflected in the number of hot leads that we have this month. Hot lead breakdown, 55 on the texting side and 19 on the cold calling side. We shoot for about a 25% conversion from lead to hot lead. So we're tracking pretty much spot on. Like our numbers are spot on there. Now, you guys are going to see here, we are using a company called Landcaller. I don't know if you've heard of them. We are testing them against our own in-house cold callers. So I'm a big fan of Joe Roberts. I think he's an awesome guy. He runs Landcaller. I think he's just a really stand-up, integral dude, good business owner. Really like him. And we hung out at the Colorado event in June. And he reached out to me after the fact and said, "Hey, Sumner, I know you're starting to dip your toe into cold calling. I would love for you to test our cold callers and see if it would be a good fit to kind of have us as the preferred partner inside of Leah." And so I said, well, I don't really want to make any commitment to saying that we're going to make anyone a preferred partner. I get hit up pretty frequently from companies, whether they're agencies or tools or platform, that are like, "Sumner, we'll give you like an insane affiliate deal. We'll give your community a discount. Can you promote us inside Leah?" And be like, we'll be like the main whatever, fill in the blank tool. And my answer is always emphatically no, unless I personally use it. Okay. I've been hit up from a lot of different agencies that I'm like, dude, I don't use PPC. I don't feel comfortable advertising it. So with Joe, I said, look, I will pay for a standard account. I paid for it out of my own pocket, not like they gave it to me for free. And I said, I will test it and split test it against my own cold callers. Okay. I paid for 3 months of cold calling with them. And I'll be totally honest about my experience here. And I will, by the end of that 3 months, I'll figure out if that's something that I want to add into Leah, because I am releasing Leah 2.0. Okay. That's we're starting the full build out for Leah 2.0 this winter. It'll most likely be released in early Q1. It's a complete brand new program that we're building from scratch. And we're also re-engineering some of the fulfillment, some of the coaching. I'm also re-engineering pricing within Leah. I'm building out a totally new pricing model as well that I hope will allow more people to access it. Now, Leah is still very much a premium product, and that new pricing model will not have all of the same support and features that our current Leah members get. So kind of imagine like how we did with Land Insights Lite. Imagine a bit of like a Leah Lite is what I'm working on. And then we'll have a kind of a higher tier plan for folks. But again, every single month we turn away 50 to 75 people that are like, dude, I know Leah is the best program for new land development. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. That's literally what they said. Like, Leah is the best. Dude, I just can't afford $10,000. Now, Leah is, in my opinion, 100% worth the $10,000. It's worth $25,000. Like, the support and the results that we get are just bananas. But we ostracize a lot of people. They're like, dude, I'm starting with $7,000. I can't pay for education and start up my business. So what do? They go and try to do it on their own, and they get smoked because the game is so different than what it was 3 or 4 years ago. And so just like with Land Insights Lite, like I want to work with people that actually are serious about this business, even if they're starting on a smaller budget. And I believe those people need coaching. You can't just give them a course. Like we have the 90 Days Zero to Hero. It's an amazing beginner course, but most people need more hand holding to that. So to answer your question, Mason, in Leah 2.0, right now, Leah is a mail program. In Leah 2.0, we're adding mail and cold calling. So we will teach both strategies within there. Okay. So I'm quite excited about that. And that's why Joe was like, hey, could we be the go-to cold caller for Leah? Now, let me just talk about my experience so far. Okay. Onboarding, I thought was really good. They had a great onboarding process. The price is very fair. We paid up front, so we got a discount. I can't remember what we paid, but it's a fair price, to be honest. Like they're definitely more of a budget friendly cold call agency. With that being said, the quality in leads is very different than what we're generating. You can see one of our cold callers generated 11 hot leads this month, and land callers has generated 3 hot leads this month. A lot of that comes down to how we're pre-qualifying and how we're having the conversations with these leads. So for example, one of our cold callers essentially 4x the conversion on hot leads. That's a big difference. That's just a really big difference. And I don't really care about the total number of leads, to be honest. Land caller so far has generated a lot more leads than our team has. Okay. I think since we've worked with them, I think it's been about 4 weeks. They've generated like about 70 leads, I think. In that same time frame, our cold callers would generate about 45 to 50 leads. So they do make more dials than us. They are doing more volume than us, but our hot lead conversion is a lot higher. And that's all I care about. I just care about hot leads. I really don't care about the number of leads. They are also making about 10 times the number of dials that we are. That's a big difference, but those dials are not converting into 10 times the number of leads. So I would say honestly, a great experience if I wasn't doing my own cold calling. If I just wanted like an entry level cold caller and I wanted to work with a company that's to me very legitimate and like integral and has strong ethics and cares, I don't see another option besides land caller. Again, I haven't used all of them, but our in-house cold callers are just running laps. Like our cold callers, we've been doing it for 90 days with our in-house cold callers, and we've generated, I think, $247,000 in pipeline profit in those 90 days with a brand new cold call team, not knowing what the heck we're doing. That's huge. That's $1 million that we've added to our business per year at our current run rate. And again, I'm learning on the job. Like I was not advanced with cold calling. I'm advanced at land, so I'm applying some of that lens to how I think cold calling should be done, which looks very different compared to how everyone else is doing it in my experience. Oh, that was a lot of information. Texting breakdown, you guys can see that here. Calling breakdown. So for the beginning of this month till today, Jada's generated 19 leads, Lester's generated 28 leads, land callers generated 48 leads. Look at the difference in connect calls though. They have like 6 times the number of connected calls. We've made 1,200 and 1,291. They've made 6,589, but our talk time is about the same. In fact, Lester has way better talk time. So they're more of like a volume cast a very wide net. We're more of like a tighter, more sniper approach, but going very deep with prospects, very, very deep. So it's more of like a quality over quantity game based off what I'm seeing. Okay. All right, let's get to the next one. Looks like I need to fix this. Let's see. Hold on. Let me fix this for you guys. I'll show you guys the next card. Stop sharing screen. Okay. Share screen. Window. All right. Let's get to the fun stuff. I don't know why my team didn't put in the total number of signed contracts. I think we're at 8 signed contracts this month on the acquisition side. $710,000 in total exit price. Profit from that's going to be $291,000. That's very conservative. For example, we have a subdivide deal, the one I told you guys about that we locked up last night, has about $200,000 of spread. My team just underwrote that as a double close in terms of adding it to the pipeline profit in the event that we just double close it. So the profit on that deal, we underwrote it at $60,000. But if we subdivide it, which we will, it's more than likely $150,000, $200,000 pipeline profit. So oftentimes we always underwrite these at the worst case scenario. Our value add deals with our pipeline profit, we underwrite it as if it was just a flip, just to keep these very, very conservative in the event we don't subdivide it, something happens, whatever. So yeah, again, numbers are very conservative here. There is also one deal that we got while we were on this call that's not added in. I'll walk you guys through that as well. We also got our first land caller deal today. So pretty exciting. I can show you guys that. We've got 3 acquisition managers. Jordan, Andrew are full-time. Eva's part-time. Jordan, $111,000 in pipeline profit out of this month. Andrew, $180,000 in pipeline profit this month. Eva has not closed any deals this month. What's interesting is Andrew is just on his 2nd month working for us, but he actually lives in Bali. So we've been working and training in person, so we've ramped him up very quickly. Texting has brought in $156,000 and cold calling's brought in $135,000. Jada brought in a deal with $115,000 in pipeline profit. That's our own in-house cold caller. And land caller brought in their first deal today. It's got about $20,000 of profit on it. Pretty cool. I'm going to show you guys the next KPI card. How do I get rid of this? Let's go remove. Yep. Okay. And do not fret. I will show you the disposition numbers as well. Okay. Here's a little more deeper dive. So I was wrong. We've actually had 7 contract signs. We've shared 885 offers on the texting side, 40 offers on the cold call side. We've sent 48 contracts on the acquisition side. We've had 7 signed, 5 by Jordan, 2 by Andrew, 0 by Eva. On the cold call side, for our in-house cold calling, we've sent 13 contracts and had 1 signed. Look at the difference here in terms of land callers. Again, this is not a knock on land callers at all. I think they serve a great purpose, but it's just a very different kind of lead that we're generating. The leads that they've brought in more leads than our in-house cold callers, but the leads are nowhere near as qualified. Out of the leads that we've brought in, 13 of them were ready for a contract that we sent for our in-house cold callers. Out of the 60 plus leads that they brought, or 48 plus leads they brought this month, only 1 of them was qualified enough that was ready for a contract. Now we did close that one, so that's a big win, but still pretty big difference, right? On the cold texting side, 33 contracts sent, 5 signed. On the mail side, we haven't had any new mail contracts sent or any mail deals closed. We had 1 last month. We'll probably have 1 or 2 next month from the campaigns that we sent out last month. There's a bit of a delay. Funnily enough, we actually had 1 contract sent from an email marketing lead from when I was running our cold email campaigns. As you guys know, I ran that last year. I probably sent, I don't know, 150,000 cold emails, and we think we've closed 2 deals, and we still get leads from that. So we're not doing it anymore. Cold email does work flat out. It's profitable. It totally works. just a lot of work. I think cold call, texting, mail is better, but email definitely does work. It's just a pain in the butt to manage. Okay. I can't stress this enough. Again, not a knock on land caller. I think land caller, you'd be profitable using them. And I think that they are the best, most affordable agency that I've seen out there, but just a very different quality of lead that we're getting. And I just interviewed my AM team yesterday about this. And I said, guys, talk to me. What are you seeing with our cold callers versus land callers? And 2 out of the 3 said it's a night and day difference. And then the other one said he hasn't seen much of a difference. But the numbers don't lie in terms of the number of hot leads, the number of leads that were ready for us to send them a contract, as well as the difference in profit, right? 6-figure deal versus a $20,000 deal, which is still great, but it's a big difference. All right, let me show you guys the dispo numbers. And Mason, I'll get to your question after. Oh, wait. Sorry, guys, that's the wrong one. All right. Okay. Dispositions, we've received 9 offers. We've sold 7 deals and we had to cancel 1. So technically we sold 8, but 1 got canceled. Let me see if I can pull up what the actual profit numbers are on our dispositions. It's not included here. Let me see. We also got 1 offer this morning while we're on this call. Pretty exciting. Gross profit on the disposition side so far this month, $194,000. So knock on wood, none of the deals run into any snags. I think we'll probably do $300,000 to $400,000 in profit on the disposition side. So good month versus $50,000 last month. So business is lumpy. Again, I couldn't do this without my amazing team. First and foremost, this is a team effort. I am a small part of our success. I absolutely could not do this without Land Insights, because it creates leverage, and I run 2 other businesses on top of it. So if I can do this part-time, you can do this part-time. That's a fact. Now, everything that I do here, guys, just comes from what I've learned and what I teach inside of Leah. If you guys are curious and learning about how to do this yourself, you can go to landinvestor.co/apply. My team will walk you through our strategy and show you guys the playbook that we run. There's not a single other person that's teaching out there that runs our playbook. That's just a fact. It's an absolute fact. I will die on that hill 1,000%. And I would argue that there's no one that has the same kind of results that we have. If you go to an event and you say, how many people in this room are Leah members? 30, 40, 50% of the room's hand goes up. We drive results. That's just a matter of fact. But we're not the everyone program. It's an investment. And we serve really people that are looking to scale that haven't found consistency. That might be a brand new investor. That might be someone that's been doing this for 6 years that's lacking consistency. If you want to come in and learn about subdivides or entitlements or what, it's not the program for you. Right? We don't service everyone. We solve one very specific problem. Those that are looking to build a consistent land business, whether you're new or you've been doing this for a long time, that's just who we work with. So if you guys got questions about our KPIs, you can drop it down below. And let's see, what else? Mason, I'll answer your question. Mason says through texting, what do you say before you're sending an offer out over text or getting on the phone for a verbal? Is it more situational? No, we prefer to get an offer via text. So we send a range offer via text, and it's a very wide range, and we pre-qualify them off of that, and then we take it from there. Now, I'm not looking for them to accept our offer. Oftentimes they don't. I'm just using that as a way to gauge their interest. I'm really looking for them to not curse me out and say, screw you, I'd never talk to you, I'd never work with you, you suck. If they don't say that, then I'm rocking and rolling. Now, if it's a value add deal, okay, $2 million subdivide or entitlement or whatever, I'm just going to try to get them on the phone. In that situation, I don't think it makes sense to try to create a range. You're probably going to be wrong in your range offer, and it's too forward for that kind of owner. So I guess it's situational, but that's like 5% of the time. It's very, very rare. Guys, if this has been enjoyable and this has got you juiced to start building the same kind of results that I'm doing in my business, landinsights.co/launch. I put it in the chat for you guys. RSVP is 100% free. I hope you guys feel like we're going above and beyond to give value here. I feel like we are. That gets me really fired up. I'm giving away free land. I'm giving away a free data platform. We're live streaming for multiple hours on the 30th of September this month. And I try to be an open book. Rylan and I are going to share exactly what we're doing in our business. 2 7-figure land investors, like opening up the kimono and sharing. And I need to stress this to you guys. This is one of the hardest markets the land business has gone through since I've been in the business, right? I see more people packing up shop and leaving. I see more people saying that I can't figure this out. This doesn't work. And we're still putting numbers on the board. So obviously we're doing something different. Obviously what we're doing is working. And I'm just tired of seeing people saying like, oh, the business is too hard. No, it's not. You're just not tooled up correctly, running the right playbook. Like the market has changed. The truth is though, if you can be successful in this environment, good Lord, will you crush when the tides turn. And I love the Warren Buffett quote. He says, when the tide goes out, you see who's naked, who's not wearing swim trunks. And the business has been very easy post-COVID. And a lot of people built up really bad habits, and the tide went out and they got exposed. And most people that teach don't even do this anymore because it's too hard for them, right? But there's so much opportunity in this business, especially because inside of Leah, we see less people are getting into land. I see more people in general in the whole entire ecosystem are leaving land. And based on a lot of the marketing companies that I know, they're seeing less marketing volume going out. There's still so much opportunity. The biggest difference right now is that there's less disposition demand. So cash conversion cycles have extended. So it's taking a little bit longer to sell your deals. So you have to be really wise with how you manage cash flow. And most importantly, you've got to be so selective on what markets you're working in because real estate's so gosh darn local. If you're in a low demand environment and you're working in bad markets, it will not work for you, right? Factor that on top of it. If you don't know how to run due diligence and create the right offers and you're buying bad deals in bad markets, yeah, the business doesn't work anymore. But that's why Land Insights, in my opinion, has blown up, is because people need it more than ever because the game has changed. Now, real estate's cyclical, like, in 2 years, whatever, interest rates will drop. We'll go back to the same good old days where you could sell a bad deal in 30 days, no questions asked, and you'll make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars if you do it right, But what I love most about this business to this day, no matter what market environment we're in, dude, this business does not give a crap about anything other than your skill, okay? Right now, we've got 6 Leah members that are with me in Bali, all walks of life. We've got people in the group that are 21 years old, brand new people that didn't go to college, got low GPAs in school. And if they try to go and create the next, whatever, Apple or Amazon or something that was really you had to be gifted and have the right timing in the market. You needed product market fit and you need millions of dollars to launch it. They'd be out of luck. But this business, you don't need to find product market fit. People already want land. All you got to learn is to run the right playbook. And the business does not care about anything else but your skill. And you don't need a lot of money. I started this with $7,000 and this business has changed my life. I owe everything to this opportunity. And so I just love seeing it, hanging out with these Leah members here in Bali and seeing the freedom that they have. And also seeing they come from all different walks of life and they're still doing it, man. There's a guy in this group that just landed a deal. He's been in Leah for 2 years. He joined when he was just a young kid. He was a realtor in Chicago and, trying to figure out what he was going to do with his life. Joined Leah, went through the typical path of struggling, then kind of figured it out, and then struggled a little bit, all the natural story. He just landed a life-changing deal, a 700-acre deal. It's a seven-figure deal. They bought it with owner financing at $950,000, 15% down, and they'll sell that deal somewhere between $1.6 and $2 million with about $150,000 out of pocket. It's life-changing. And you could be anybody and land that deal. Like it doesn't care about your skin color, your background, your education status. Like none of that matters. It's just your skill. It's egalitarian. I love this business for that. Like there is no, there's just nothing in your way. There's just nothing in your way. You know, I started this I didn't go to college. I barely got my diploma in high school. I was a sub 3.0 student. And I just found something that worked, made my own strategy around it, and I just haven't stopped doing it. And that's just beautiful. So really gets me excited. Guys, put your questions in the chat. I'll be here for a little bit longer. I'm happy to help. Anything I can do for you guys, I'm here. Take advantage of the time. Whatever you got, whatever you need, put it in the chat. I'm here to help you guys. I'm all ears. Golf 25 says, this is great. All we need now is a CRM built in. Yeah, Golf. It's been talked about. I'll put it like that. It's been talked about. I don't want to make any commitments, but it's something that we are certainly very, very aware of. You know, what I would love to create is a tool where you never need to go to any other tool. Like you don't need to jump from tool to tool to tool to tool to tool to tool. I would love to do one tool that does everything. And that might very well include a CRM. Coach, shout out to J-Bone on the deal. Let's freaking go. I know. Shout out to J-Bone. If you guys don't know, Coach lives in the land house in Arizona. Unfortunately, Coach isn't here in Bali with us right now. Coach is one of the sales guys for Land Insight. So if you guys schedule a demo call and you want to jump in, like let's say you listen to everything we went through here today and you're like, dude, forget Land Insights Lite and Starter. I'm ready for the big dogs. I want to go straight to pro. You go to landinsights.co/apply. You guys can get a free demo call. We'll walk you through the tool. We'll also pull 1,000 leads for you, give them to you, 1,000 hot seller leads. We'll pick a market for you on that call and give it to you for free. And more than likely you'd be on a call with Coach. So Coach is amazing. I think you guys would have a great call. Mason, mind sharing one or a few books you'd highly recommend for someone starting out the space, as well as some books for life in general? Yeah, good question, Mason. I like it. God, I've read so many books. It's hard to synthesize what comes to mind immediately. I'll give you guys kind of a wide range. Okay. For a general life book, The Power of Now. This is a very important book, in my opinion, written by Eckhart Tolle or Tolle, depending on how you pronounce it. I read that book when I was 19 or 20. And the premise is understanding that, you know, it's maybe cliche to some of you guys, but the future doesn't exist. And if you live in the future, it's just riddled with anxiety. The past doesn't exist. And if you focus on that, that just is depression. All you ever have is the present moment. And I know that might sound cliche to you, but what happens is as you start building a business, you often fall into one or two camps. You're either obsessed with thinking about the future and you're never present. That's why most business owners are anxious wrecks. They're always on the verge of exploding. And you will never outgrow your self-development. Your business is a reflection of your personal self-development. And so if you are bursting at the seams because you're so anxious and you can't live in the present moment, your business is going to suffer. Or you're constantly living in the past. I should not have missed that deal. I screwed this up. I made such a big mistake. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo. And you're depressed. And then you miss what's right in front of you. And you don't enjoy what life is all about. And to me, life is supposed to be enjoyed, but it cannot be enjoyed when you're not present. And I noticed that my business does better when I'm happy. And happiness can only be derived from the present moment. So Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, great book. In terms of like building teams, in terms of like building an organization, I would say Traction by Gino Wickman. That's a great book in terms of how to think about creating an operating system for your business. In full candor, I don't do everything they teach in there. Okay. So I'm not like running a perfect model version of what they teach. But there's a lot of things I've taken from that book that really kind of helped me think through how to build my business. And honestly, the biggest modeling that I got in terms of how I run the 3 different businesses today actually came from the only company I ever worked for. So I worked for a company called Slide Genius in San Diego. Okay. And the CEO of Slide Genius took me under his wing. And when I joined that company as a salesperson, the first book they gave me was Traction by Gino Wickman. And it's funny, I read that book at the time and I'm like, why the hell did they give this to me? I'm like, none of this applies to being a salesperson. But it was God's way or the universe's way of planting a little seed to say, Sumner, one day that this is going to be important for you. I just didn't realize it at that time. And I read the book and I did not understand it. But the organization, Slide Genius, the way they had built that business was all built off of the operating principles from Traction. And I've mirrored so much of how I build teams and how I build organizations from what that CEO taught me at Slide Genius. So in a roundabout way, I do implement a lot of those things, but that came indirectly, if you will. And I've read the book twice. I should probably go back and read it again. Frankly, there's things that I could still take from it. The E-Myth, that's a classic in terms of building businesses and thinking about creating an organization. E-Myth is a phenomenal book. One of my favorites, God, what's that book called? The Get Rich book. God, what was that book called? Let me pull it up. It got such a bad title, but such a good book. Where is it? It's like let's see. How to Get Rich book, British CEO. It's got such a bad name. What's it called? Yeah, the book is called How to Get Rich. I know it's a terrible name. It's written by Felix Dennis. This might be my favorite business book of all time. It very well might take the cake. I'm gonna put it in the chat for you guys. I love this guy, Felix Dennis, man. Felix Dennis, I believe he was the one that created Maxim magazine. I could be wrong, but he was a magazine entrepreneur. It's got a terrible title, but geez, is this book so good, guys. Like I love this book so much. I could not recommend it enough. So that's got to be really, really high on my list. I'm actually going back right now and reading Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. So Think and Grow Rich, awesome. Outwitting the Devil, awesome as well. I'm reading that right now. And what's interesting is he wrote Outwitting the Devil in the 30s, but it was so controversial, he didn't release it. Then he passed away in the 70s, and his family took over the manuscripts, and they even said that this is too controversial. They didn't release it. I think it was only in the mid 2000s that they released the book. So it was written a long time ago, but they just released it, which is awesome. I don't know, maybe 10, 20 years ago. That's a great book. I mean, everyone's probably read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's not an amazing book. I read that when I was 16, but it really got me thinking like, oh, wow, like, okay, this is how you can think about building a life of freedom. Like you can make a lot of money, but if you don't engineer it correctly, you're going to have a crap life. And so for me, like the greatest compliment I ever get from other land investors is they say, Sumner, I think you've got the best lifestyle in land investing. And don't get it twisted. I work my ass off. I really do. Just because I travel or live overseas, like do not get it twisted. I put my everything into everything that I do. But what's it for if I don't live a dope life? Like I want to do what I want, when I want. I want no limits on my life. I want absolute freedom. If I want to take a flight tomorrow to Japan to go snowboarding, I'm going to do it. In fact, I'm doing that in December. That's my kind of lifestyle. And maybe that doesn't resonate for some people, but I see a lot of people in land that are very successful that have a dog crap lifestyle. That's not interesting to me. So I definitely took things away from Rich Dad, Poor Dad in terms of like the whole Rich Dad, Poor Dad dichotomy and the difference in their lifestyle. The 48 Laws of Power. This is not directly a business book, but kind of. When we think about negotiating or just dealing with people, this is a fascinating book. Robert Greene is such a great author. The guy's so well read. He does so much research. It's just an amazing book. Let me see what else, guys. Let me see what else. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I read that a long time ago. That's an interesting book. What else? Yeah, I mean, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. That was an interesting book. I think that's a pretty good jumping off point for you guys. I read a lot of very weird books now. I don't really read a lot of self-development books. I think most of them are all getting at the same thing. The Psychology of Money, that was an interesting book. I'll put that in the chat. I'll recommend that one to you guys. Yeah, Mason, in terms of relationships, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz is right in that vein. That's a great read as it relates to relationships. I haven't read like a ton of relationship books per se, but that one definitely overlaps. But I think that if your personal development is in check, right? You have high values, you've got great habits, you have great levels of self-love, you appreciate yourself, you don't deprecate yourself, you live in the present, you do your work, you work hard, you're moving forward in your life, you're in an upward spiral. Holding great relationships becomes a lot easier because you attract amazing people. People want to be around you because you're doing life right. And when you're living in that place, it's impossible to not bring good energy to other people. It's impossible to not live in integrity. So I think if you can kind of take care of your own side of the camp, managing relationships, whether it's with your team or it's with loved ones, becomes a lot easier. And so much of my success is people. All of my success, I would argue, is people. My ability to work with people. And it's not like I don't study this stuff. I just try to make sure that my side of the street is always clean. And I really can't stress this enough, guys. I could not do even 1/100th of what I do without my team and all of the businesses. I live and die by the people that I work with in those relationships. And I really try my best to nurture those relationships, take care of those relationships, go above and beyond as much as I possibly can. Um, and in my opinion, like, again, if so much of your success is going to be derived from working with the right people, the best people won't work with you unless you're someone worth working with. And so you got to be that guy or that gal. And so much of that is your personal development. And if you guys, again, I don't read a ton of personal development books anymore, but I've spent from the age of 13, 14 till the early 20s working on this stuff. When I used to drive to school in the morning, driving to middle school, my stepdad would play Les Brown, would listen to Tony Robbins in the car drive over there. So that stuff was just seeping into my subconscious. And I started to get really into self-development when I was 16. Like that's when I really started taking it seriously. And yeah, I just think like beyond strategies or business models or any of that stuff, that's the base layer, guys. If you don't have that stuff figured out, don't even get off this call. Like, go take care of that first. You will never outgrow your level of self-development. It is just not possible. Now, full candor, I still have a lot of work to do there, but that work does not come from reading another classic, typical New York Times bestseller self-development book. A lot of my self-development comes from working with coaches, working with energy healers or mediums or what have you, meditating. Psychedelics have been a big part of my self-development. That might be controversial to some. I'm totally fine to talk about that. Journaling, yeah, it's just trying to have some level of self-awareness. Golf 25, have you heard of Michael Oliver's Natural Selling? Great for salespeople. No, I haven't. My favorite sales book, I'll put it in the chat for you guys, Never Split the Difference. I think in terms of what we do in the land business, it's less of a sales, like you don't like, how do I put this? You don't need sales skills in the land business. I know it's controversial. Too much salesmanship will actually really hurt you. What you need is sales process, and you need to be able to negotiate. But being a salesman or a salesperson, I think actually works against you because we're working with people that it's just not going to resonate with them. But Never Split the Difference is one of the best books about negotiating. phenomenal. I think for land investors, if you're just getting started, you're not ready to think about building a team yet, all that jazz, start with that book because you will get an immediate ROI. Because if you're brand new, you're going to be taking calls in a matter of time. And literally almost every single call I listen to with new land investors, we review calls inside of Leah for our members. They don't know how to negotiate. It's just a matter of fact. So yeah, guys, any more questions, everyone? That was a good question, Mason. Anything else I can answer for you guys? I'm happy to go through one more, two more questions before we wrap up. Anything else? If you guys have enjoyed this call, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know that this was valuable. Let me know that it was worth my time. I really hope that it's been of service to you guys. Again, go RSVP. It's free. You can enter in and win free land. You can get early access to Land Insights Lite, which is also free. And when you guys sign up for Land Insights Lite, again, it's free. I just need a preface. There's no hidden costs. I'm not going to upsell you randomly. Oh, by the way, you got to pay for this. No, it's literally free. You literally just put in your email, you put in your password, you put in your name, and it's going to add you in, and that's it. But when you guys sign up for your account, I'm going to give you $50 of credit within Land Insights. You guys can use that for data. You guys can use that for skip tracing, whatever, just for filling out the onboarding form. It's like all you got to do is fill out the onboarding form. And once you make your account, if you pull your first export, one property, 1,000 properties, 100,000 properties, does not matter. I'll give you another $25 of credit. So $75 in credits. I don't know if I'll do that forever. It's a pretty insane deal. Like my guesstimation is we'll probably have, I don't know, 500 people sign up for Land Insights, right? When we launch. So pretty much everyone is going to realize the $75 in credits. So I'm giving away $37,000 to everyone that signs up. I'm getting, like, based off of my forecasting, I think we'll have 500 signups. I think everyone's going to complete the onboarding form. I hope, knock on wood. I think everyone will probably pull their first record in that 60-minute window to get the bonus. That's $37,000 on top of the whatever $10,000 plus a land. So it's a lot. Hopefully, it's a lot. It feels like a lot. My son wants to know what your splits are. Yeah, I'm guessing that's workout splits, not profit splits on deals. You never know. So I've been running a kind of a different setup for probably the last 6 weeks. So I've been moving over to full body workouts. So I've been doing 3 to 4 full body weightlifting workouts per week. I do 3 boxing workouts per week. And then usually I run once per week. So that's my typical split. I stretch every day, typically twice a day. I usually get 1 massage a week. So try to focus on the recovery as well. I'm not as good as I should be with the sauna and ice bath. I should go more often. But yeah, if you're training with that level of frequency, you definitely you need to be focusing on recovery. If you're trying, like if you're trying to get into the gym and you're new, I wouldn't recommend that much volume. You definitely need to work your way up to that. You're going to really fatigue your body and you're just not going to be able to recover. And recovery is more important than anyone realizes. So if you're new, I would recommend 3 to 4 full body workouts per week. 3 is plenty. All you need to focus on is progressive overload. So compound lifts should make up the bulk of your lifting. That should make up 75 to 80% of your lifting. Track your lifts. Ensure that you're progressing on your workouts. Okay. Your compound should be progressing every 2 to 4 weeks. Track it, write it down. Progressive overload is the only way to build muscle. Like a lot of people have it twisted online, in my opinion. Sebastian, how do you handle wrong names in your export list when first and last names are switch, etc.? I don't read into it too much. We shouldn't be getting any first last name switches inside of Land Insights, but you certainly can get the wrong name. It's fine. Like if you're reaching out to the right address and to the right property, it'll end up in the right hands. Now I'll try to format it so it's not, if the names are backwards, then for sure format that. That's wacky. But there are certainly times where you're going to mail to someone and someone else receives it. It's the wrong name. They understand what you're getting at. I think it's diminishing returns to try to get like super granular with it. In my experience, it's like the same thing. When I call a seller, I'm just going to assume that it's the person that I skip traced, even if it's not. I'm just going to say, hey, what's up, Bob? And they're like, no, this isn't Bob. I'm like, oh, shoot, I thought this was Bob. Like, I just think it's easier to just assume and kind of move forward with it. I'm sure someone could counter me on that. Maybe there's a reason to do it differently. I just think it can be diminishing returns. Leanne, what are your standard production process for your cold calling? I think I don't know what you mean by production process. I'm not sure I'm following the question. Can you elaborate a little bit on that one in the chat? I don't know what you mean by production process. And we'll wait for Leanne. Otherwise, we'll wrap up here, guys. Give it a thumbs up if you guys have not. Means the world. Shows me that this was valuable. Mason, thank you, brother. Appreciate the kind words. Looks like we'll wrap up here, guys. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Take care of yourself. Hang out with friends and family. Be safe out there. And let's kick ass and take names next week. All right. See you, everyone. Take care of yourself.